Live from the hot air balloon capital of the world, this is Balloon Fiesta Live. The 47th edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, presented by Canon, is happening now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now, live direct from the rooftop studio at Balloon Fiesta Park, here are Glen Moyer and Lloyd Jr.
And good morning and welcome, everybody, to a cool and damp, or shall I say wet,
I think you can call it
Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the 47th Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, brought to you by Canon. I'm Glen Moyer, along with my colleague Lloyd, and yeah, we have weather.
We had a lot of rain come through town
did.
last night. I got more about 2/10 of an inch at my house, and I'm usually in a dry part of the city.
Yeah, I don't know what we got at the hotel, but it was soaking wet when I was stepping in puddles as I walked out this morning.
And we still have some clouds hanging around here. We're going to talk with our chief meteorologist here in just a few minutes. But we've had our dawn patrol folks get up, and the winds are actually very calm here this morning. But I think we're going to find that there may be some issues with the direction this morning.
Yeah, it's not nearly as cold as I thought it was going to be. Looking at my weather apps, it said it was going to be in the low 40s, and I've got probably about 3 layers too many on, which once we're off camera, I'm going to get rid of a few of those.
I have one more on than I've had any morning so far.
Well, me too. I'm wearing one extra layer that I had on the first morning, Saturday, which I thought was fairly cool, but it's actually quite nice out this morning, other than the rather ugly sky.
Yeah, and of course, if you're on the field, it's a little wet out there, so be careful where you're walking out there.
Well, it was wet up here, too, on our set, as you well know.
Yep, we've done a lot of trying to dry things off.
Yeah, well, at least they got the chairs dry.
We put them inside last night,
that
so
was a
we were
good
at least
move.
thinking of that.
Good move on our production team.
So, quick note before we get to the national anthem. You see some balloon crews already starting to lay out their balloons here. We will have a number of balloons fly away from the field here if we move forward with our flights. The game plan is for that. We will also have competition today. That's on the schedule. Still waiting again on all the pieces here.
The whole agenda changes today from what has been mass ascensions during the weekend. Now we move into the competition mode where we have non-competitors launching from the field and then competitors coming into targets. So it could
launching
be a very
from
exciting
somewhere else
from
and
somewhere
attempt
else
to fly
and flying
in.
Yeah, so it's a whole different agenda today.
And we'll see what really happens with all the winds and the weathers and all those other types of things. We will be talking you through all of that as the day and the morning continues through. We, of course, are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube via the balloonfiesta.com webpage, and we appreciate all of you joining us there. We'll attempt to interact with the Facebook folks that are posting comments there. We did get an opportunity to repost Saturday night's show. Had a slight issue with some music that got on the feed inadvertently. We fixed that. We've gotten that back up, so you can go back and watch Saturday night's show and hear us talk for 2 hours about balloons.
Yeah, because there wasn't actually a lot of show other than you and I talking for 2 hours.
So this was the tell part of the show and tell.
I'm not sure how many people want to go back and actually watch that.
You know, though, I've talked to a number of people who thought that whole process was very informative and educational. So hopefully we provided that with a little bit of entertainment as well.
I would hope so. I know our director, Gary, saw me right afterwards, and he was kind of shocked. He said, "You guys just filled 2.5 hours and never stopped." Well, we both are full of hot air, so what can I tell you?
That's it. That was the hot air for the night that night here. So we should be about 1 minute away from the launch of the cannon balloon. That is the balloon of the day here, taking the flag. Johnny Petrin flying cannon for us. Our national anthem this morning will be performed by the 44th Army Band. We'll be able to tune into that momentarily. We're just waiting for the official go from our officials who are down there controlling the launch and the timing of all of this.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that we can be as far away as we are and time the launch of a balloon, the start of the singing, and our announce, as well as getting the stream up and all that other stuff. It's pretty amazing how this all gets coordinated for the most part, timing.
You might wait and say that after we pull it off successfully.
Oh, you mean I should have knocked on my head for wood?
I think maybe so. Or mine. I'm close by, too.
One of those. So.
Yeah. And then immediately after that, we do have Brad Tiemeyer standing by, who is our chief meteorologist, and he's going to talk with us about the weather that we had pass through overnight, what its impact on us this morning will be, and what that all means for this morning's flight. So we'll be talking with Brad just right after the national anthem, which, again, there's the cannon balloon with Johnny Petrin on board, our balloon of the day.
And we want to get just enough heat in there. That's part of the coordination. He's got to have enough heat in so that when they start singing, he actually lifts off the ground.
Lift off, right.
And depending on how much heat he has put in there, that can take a couple of moments to make that happen. So we're just kind of watching and
there he
listening.
goes. He
left. Goes. So let's just call this, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem from the main stage, performed this morning by the 44th Army Band.
Twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And there we are. The national anthem by the 44th Army Band, the balloon of the day cannon with John Petrin at the controls, taking our colors airborne, and we are underway for day number 3.
Yeah, and there were a couple of candlestick burns right at the end of the anthem there. We've now begun the sort of new tradition here of having all the pilots on the field do
Right.
a quick candlestick burn right
Well,
at
like
the
yesterday,
end.
we had them do it through the
Through
entire
anthem,
anthem, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
We were creating our own heat vortex yesterday morning. But I'm not sure that the coordination was there this morning. There were 3 or 4 that did candlesticks around the field.
We got them in that mode here, so now they're just going to do it.
Now they're just going to do it, but I think it's only meant to be on the weekends. So, but that's fine.
Yeah,
hey,
sure.
All's fair in love and ballooning.
Well, remember, too, that we have probably less than half of the balloons here on the field because the others have gone somewhere else to fly this way. So.
Yeah, the competitors are all out trying to – they're watching these first few balloons as Johnny Petrin is aloft with the cannon balloon and our Dawn Patrol trying to see what the wind direction is. Hey, Brad, come on over. And so that's kind of giving them a clue as to maybe where they'll want to go to find a launch site because it'll be at least an hour probably before we'll be opening the field for the competition if we do to allow them to fly in. We do have a batch of balloons here on the field to get inflated and launched away first, again, if we do. And that still, I think, is being decided.
Well, and, flying the competition, it's like go out there because I think it's going to be from here. And then you say, no, I think I need to be over there.
And no, I think I need to go back where I was.
And pretty soon, the window's over.
I always hated flying competitions because you pass, if you're out there in the neighborhoods as pilots, you're passing each other going back and forth. And one guy goes to where you were first and you thought that wasn't the right. And you go to his spot and then you swap. And it's just kind of, it's like Keystone Cops out there. It can be quite funny.
There you go. So Brad T. Moyer, the chief meteorologist for us here at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, is here. So little rain last night, Brad.
Yeah, just a little bit. Here on the field, we had just around 1/1300ths of an inch at our weather station here. So it's very soggy conditions out on the field.
Which isn't the soggy conditions on the field just make it tough on the crew. But how does the rain and the weather conditions in the air going to impact today's flying?
So that's the tricky part that we've been trying to wrap our head around this morning. It's a tough situation because we're thinking that the drainage may try to set up as the morning goes on, but you can see that with Dawn Patrol and now Johnny Petrin and the cannon balloon, we aren't seeing any drainage develop.
No.
So given that that's the case,
we understand the drainage. Explain for our folks what the drainage wind really does. What does that mean, the drainage?
So normally, just because we live down here in a bowl down here in Albuquerque, the air will start to slide down the hill at night when it gets cold, and the top of the hill is way up towards Santa Fe. So we'll actually get that flow that starts way up north near Santa Fe, and it just rolls down the hill through the night, and usually starts to work its way in here probably around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. We've seen hints of that just to the north in Bernalillo and Placitas. We have not seen that arrive here, however, so we've actually got someplace up north where the winds are actually converging or coming together, but that's not here on the field. So unless that sets up later on for the competitors, they'll probably be coming in from the south and then heading up toward the north, and maybe landing up on the far eastern edge of Rio Rancho or headed up towards the reservation.
Well, and we should mention it's those drainage winds that give us what is called the Albuquerque box,
Yes.
because they come down, as you say, from Santa Fe out of the north, come down and are low-level winds where it's cold on the ground, because the prevailing wind is typically at altitude is out of the south, and it's that north to south flow at the surface and then opposite south to north at altitude that creates that box that we fly. And if we don't have that drainage, as you say, then the pilots are likely coming from back here, from behind us, to get into the field.
And that drainage is usually relatively shallow too, so
Yes.
it just lasts a few hundred feet in thickness as in the vertical, and then above that, like Glenn mentioned, it's all straight out of the south.
Yeah. And that makes and as we know as pilots, and you are too, Brad, going completely directly north is not typically a good direction for us.
It's a tough direction for us.
We have the Indian Reservation there, and typically we have to overfly that, and that means going on to Bernalillo, which is a bit of a distance to travel.
Right.
So if there's not a little bit of an easterly or westerly direction up there as well, then a pure south direction is not always a good direction to fly from.
And, we've been watching the winds here over the last few hours on the surface, and you can see Johnny just has a hint of westerly, winds out of the south-southeast.
Right.
So he's headed just a little bit off to the west. But the funny thing is that throughout the morning, we've seen more winds out of the southwest than out of the southeast. So this is kind of a new direction for us that we've seen yet this morning, and that's what I expect to prevail through the morning, actually, is probably very light and variable winds, which will make it a very difficult competition morning, I think.
Now, and we don't yet have the sun up over the Sandia to the east. That happens later in the morning. Will we actually? There's still a lot of cloud actually at the top of the Sandias. Will we see the sun this morning, and will that sunrise have any impact on us like it sometimes does?
It will, and I think it'll be delayed much like what we saw yesterday morning. So we've got those clouds hugging the mountaintop. So I think, normally we see sunrise here on the Fiesta grounds right around 7:30. I think it'll be closer to 8 o'clock before we see the sunrise here. But we'll start with some peaks of sun, much like what we saw yesterday.
Right.
And then
Yes.
I think with the clearing, especially to our west, that we'll get some more full sun as the competition starts getting going later on this morning.
And 8 o'clock, that's really when the competition is scheduled to start. So all that movement around, where am I going and watching?
It's going to change.
It's
consistently inconsistent is the best way to describe this morning.
There you go. We talked with Johnny Petrin yesterday on air, and he talked about the frustrating conditions to fly competition here because of exactly what you just described. The
Absolutely.
wind, constantly changing, swirling, mixing directions of the wind.
Yeah, the good news is that I think things are going to get much more consistent for us the next few days. I think we're going to see some fantastic boxing conditions midweek here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For those that aren't out here this morning, certainly come out the next couple mornings because it looks really good for flying.
Outstanding. Well, Brad, thank you very much. We'll let you get back to forecasting and doing whatever it is, whatever magic it is that you do over there.
Well, we do lots of things, but I do want to give a shout out to everybody out there in TV land watching us that can't be with us today.
Absolutely.
Internet land, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
Internet
it's all
land.
internet
Yeah.
land.
That's fantastic.
That's where they are. If anything changes, come back and let us know.
I will certainly do that.
All right. Thanks
Thanks,
Brad.
guys.
Brad.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a good morning.
All righty.
Brad T. ladies and gentlemen, who is our chief meteorologist here. And, so it's going to be an interesting morning. I think an unpredictable, perhaps interesting morning for us.
It will certainly be that. So lots of the pilots and crews, at least down here on the south end of the field, do appear to be setting their balloons up here. They may stay in a static condition sitting here on the field. Of course, when you have a The big words Intel on the side of your balloon. You want everyone to see that and know about Intel.
Yeah, and this is one of those mornings, Art, we talked this past weekend at some point, I remember, about when you have conditions like this. This is one of those mornings when it's not a bad idea, if you need to pull the balloon out, and as you're cold inflating, just roll it around a little bit, give it a quick rinse cycle. And you never like to pack your balloon away wet, because balloons are fabric.
Exactly.
They're made out of either nylon or polyester. And if you know what happens to, if you take a wet towel and toss it to the side,
crumple it up, put it in a bag, and put it in the corner somewhere.
Well, it mildews, and the same thing can happen to balloons, and that ruins the fabric and can damage the coating that's on the inside of these balloons that seals them so that they hold the hot air. So you never want to pack away your balloon wet, but taking it out and inflating it in damp conditions is not necessarily a bad thing, because as you inflate the balloon and stand it up and then fly it, you're putting heat into it, so you're drying it out. So yeah, a wet morning is a morning where if your balloon has been flying in some dusty, dirty conditions for a while, it's not a bad opportunity to give it a quick rinse, and then the dry cycle while you're flying, and hopefully the sun has been up long enough to dry the ground by the time you come back and land, and you can pack it away dry.
Or you get to a spot where you can lay that tarp out.
Exactly.
And be able to put your balloon
fabric
down on the tarp.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at some steam coming from the Intel factory. Speaking of the Intel balloon we saw, we have a nice Intel factory here, and I'm looking out to the west, and I see some steam coming up from that factory, and it is blowing to the north. So higher up out there, that's consistent with the directions we have here.
Yeah.
And when I came in this morning about 4 o'clock, there's another factory not too far from here, and the steam was going to the south. So, yeah, everything Brad has talked about, everything we're seeing here remains consistent around with all those weather indicators that, as balloon pilots, we look for.
Exactly. And the disappointing thing for you and I as announcers is if we don't have the drainage and the competitors are forced to fly in from the south, that means they come from behind us. And
exactly.
So we don't get nearly as good a view of them managing and flying and navigating their way to the target until they're virtually almost right up over the field.
Exactly.
Because they come from behind, over our shoulder, and even though we now have chairs that swivel 360 degrees, we can turn around and look backwards. It still doesn't give us a very good view.
We don't see for miles.
Yeah, we can't see
back.
for miles to the south like we can to the north. And so, yeah, it makes it a little more challenging for us, but we'll deal with it.
The other thing is, remember, right on the ground, there is a little bit, it is going a little bit more west, right on the ground.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see some strategies of folks taking off to the east of us, attempting to use that very low level
Stay
to
very
come in
low.
here
Yeah.
and come in. So there'll be some who will try that.
It's always interesting to see the strategies that play out, and Art and I will try to explain all of that to you and show you balloons and explain the strategies that we think the pilots are using, because you're right. Let's say the prevailing flow is from the south. The majority of the balloons will come in high from the south and then drop down onto the field, and if it stays fairly calm here, what we may see is them taking off to the south and a little bit to the east, coming in high from the south, dropping down once they're alongside Fiesta Park, and then trying to use that low and slow easterly flow to flow into the balloon field. And then once they're on the field, sometimes anything is possible, because we've seen lots of little eddies and currents in the winds right at surface level that allow the pilots to move about once they get to the field. The first object for them is to get here, get onto Balloon Fiesta Park, so they can then be in the scoring area. And sometimes that can be challenging. So it should be a very interesting morning to see all of that develop. And again, that's if we're able to do all of this. And we're still waiting on word from Sam Parks and his staff as to exactly what it is that we're going to fly. One of the concerns, of course, this morning with a southerly flow is that it would carry the balloons toward the Indian Pueblo. And we do have systems in place to allow the pilots to get in and out of there. But it is, let's be honest, it's an inconvenience.
Well, it taxes the folks. It's the Sandia Indian Pueblo up there, and it is. They have a small security force,
right? And it's very taxing for them. You're absolutely right. I shouldn't say it's an inconvenience, but it's a workload for them to have to deal with.
Exactly.
And for our pilots and crew, because you get a few hundred balloons landing in the Pueblo, and they have a very limited security force.
It's like 6 or 8 security.
And they can only deal with them one at a time. So it becomes a lengthy process to go through.
There goes Sean Askren in the Intel balloon.
Ah, okay. Well, he had originally asked to do just a static inflation, and I heard the staff, the safety folks, giving him an okay for that. But
they've now given him permission to launch.
They've given him permission to launch, and away he goes.
And we see the balloon spinning there. That's on purpose. Actually, we see Sean there.
Yep.
He's got his hand on that one rope there. That's
Which is
the
that
turning vent.
Yep, right.
Exactly. Letting air out the side of the balloon.
And as the balloon turns, you might be able to see.
It's
sometimes
just going
when he
around
has
the
that
left
vent
side.
open, you can see the hole that opens up in the side of the balloon, which is the vent. And what happens is air
coming around again on the right
there
side.
It is. I think that's it, just beside the blue of the Intel as it spins around there. What happens is hot air from inside the envelope actually spews. It's not like a retro rocket or anything, but there is a flow of hot air.
It comes out the side.
It comes out the side, and that creates a bit of propulsion and allows the balloon to spin in the air. And, of course, when you have a balloon that says Intel all around it, one of the reasons you want to do that is that you can then turn the balloon so that no matter which direction you're flying, you can always have the Intel logo facing wherever the spectator might be, and that's a little thing that is sometimes called advertising, keeping that corporate brand turned so that folks can see it. And as we watch Johnny Petrin way off in the distance, just as Brad was saying, he has found a nice flow that is out of the southeast to northwest, and so he has found, and I can see well in the distance, a couple of the Dawn Patrol balloons that are still in the air, and they too have taken that southeast to northwesterly. They've found that flow, which takes them to a more favorable landing zone if they can go in a more westerly direction, and so I suspect that might be what we'll see many of the pilots do if that holds consistent through the morning. Johnny headed, as we say, and you can see the balloons in the distance out over the mountains, or toward the mountains. They're not over them, moving in a northwesterly direction. So that's a good sign that that northwest track might be there this morning.
If that continues to hold, at least at the lower levels here, that would be great. That's a good direction to go. It's that northeast that really kind of gets us into the Sandia Pueblo.
Takes us into the Pueblo and up against the edge of the Sandia Mountains, and neither of those are really good options.
And I have to say that the folks, the tribal council and all those things out there at the Pueblo Council, Sandia, those folks have been just fabulous to work with from a Balloon Fiesta standpoint here, which is why we want to be that consideration of not putting 500 balloons in the middle of their their land.
As I say, I probably misspoke when I said inconvenience. That was a poor choice of words on my part.
But that's
because they've always been great. They've worked with us through all the years and always are great. And a lot of the teams, when they do land there, their security forces do take care of them and get them out safely. And but it becomes a taxing situation when you put 400 or 500 balloons on their property, and as you say, they have less than maybe 8 or 10 security officers that have to deal with the situation.
And while we don't anywhere in town, we wouldn't necessarily need to have a security officer, but that's one of the requests that we have from the Pueblo, that if you do land there, that your crew get escorted into the balloon, protecting the sacred lands, etc.
Exactly.
Out there.
And as you said,
that's why it's that
Fiesta wants to be good neighbors with the entire community, including the Indian Pueblo, and so we have those procedures in place for that reason. It's just it's an easier day, I guess, if we don't go into the Pueblo, but we are able to do so.
Yes, we are.
And it's because of their cooperation and working with us for that, so we appreciate that.
Ruth Lind is one of our reporters on Balloon Fiesta Live here. She's down on the field there, and she's got someone to talk to.
I sure do. I have Scott Spencer with me this morning from the Coca-Cola balloon, and his wife Lori is actually the pilot of this balloon.
She's driving this morning. She wrestled me and I lost, so she's going to fly. Hey,
I bet she's a terrific pilot, isn't she?
I'm awful proud of her. She had a great flight the other morning, came back, boxed the field 5 times, and came back and landed on the field, so I was pretty happy.
Have you guys been flying for Coca-Cola for a long time?
No, 33 years. Yeah, so a long time.
And what's that like, working with such a large national sponsor like Coca-Cola?
Well, it's an honor to be able to be the ambassador for that brand, and every day is a good day when you're with Coca-Cola, and we're certainly happy to be here. And I got to tell you, if I can just take over the interview for a second, you guys do it right. This stream is incredible. We have people at our home in Boise, Idaho, Tom Getch, and some of the guys that are up there, the pilots. that weren't able to come down have been sending us images and screen caps. I'm so proud. This is you represent the sport of ballooning so well, and that's on you, and that's on Glen, and we sure appreciate it.
And it's on Art Lloyd Jr.
Yes.
And these guys, I agree with you. This is my first year with Balloon Fiesta Live, and I am having so much fun. Thank you for your kind words.
It's my pleasure, and safe journeys to everybody, and thank you for having us come down. We get to lift the flag tomorrow. I'm very excited about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, we will definitely be covering that. Thank you for being with us,
pleasure.
Scott.
Ciao.
Glen and Art.
Thanks, Ruth, and thank you, Scott. And yes, I would echo Ruth's comments. Thanks for your kind words.
You bet.
Even though he couldn't remember your name, but that's okay. You've only been here 5 years. I've been here 29. So
There you go.
give it another 20 years, buddy, and everybody in the world will know you.
But he mentioned a good friend of mine, Tom Getch, who I miss seeing Tom. Tom used to live here in Albuquerque, and probably about almost 10 years ago now has moved up north, and so I don't always get to see Tom, and always glad to hear that those folks are watching everywhere around the world, and good that they're paying attention.
Well, and he's absolutely right, and kudos to Ruth, because it is, as she said, her first year with us, and she's normally part of the command center team for the America's Challenge gas balloon race, which if you're just joining us this week, we are not having the gas balloon race this year because the Gordon Bennett in Europe ran right up to the start of Fiesta, and it was just impossible to get all the international competitors and their equipment here to Albuquerque from Europe in time to stage a successful gas race, not to mention the fatigue factor for all of those that participated. And Ruth, like you and I, having broadcast background as well as extensive ballooning knowledge, as she is both a gas and hot air pilot, has joined the team for us this year. And I think we're in negotiation to maybe share her next year with the gas race, which will be coming back. So,
that is exactly right.
But,
so it's been great
I think Ruth's doing a great job down there as one of our field reporters, and lovely to have her with us.
So I see the Pegasus special shape out there on the northeast side of the field there. Tyler Jacques from Battle Creek, Michigan, has set up the pig with the sunglasses.
The cool pig.
The cool pig.
That's where all the cool pigs hang out.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see Scotty McClinton is getting the U.S. Bank balloon cold inflated, red, white, and blue. Just beside him is the Cox utility balloon, the Call 811. Now, they have two balloons out here. They have this black and yellow one that is cold inflating on our end of the field, but they also have a brand new balloon. I call it Shovel Man, that was built by Lindstrand Balloons, and it has a construction worker with a shovel and all the different colored flags that represent the different types of underground things you should be concerned with when you are digging, and for construction or even home construction, putting in a sprinkler system, etc., those types of things. So we were kind of joking about making Shovel Man the newest superhero. You know, maybe
works for me.
There should be a movie for Shovel Man.
Shovel Man.
But I don't see that balloon yet. But maybe we will see it. It may be one of the competitors is flying it. I'm not sure. But yeah, the Cox utility balloon joining us.
Just to our side of the Pegasus balloon there, red at the bottom, big white we're looking at as it's being cold inflated there as well. That's Time Flies. Sydney Severin from Belgium inflating that one for us. And then continuing to move left on the screen there, we have the 770 KKOB balloon. Ron Curry.
And then directly in front of it, now looming large in our screen picture and on the big video wall, is the yellow with the red and blue spiral balloon and the Dr. Pepper banner on it. And that is one of the family of Coca-Cola products that is the official soft drink sponsor of Balloon Fiesta.
Kevin Haynes at the controls of La Cumbia, which has the Dr. Pepper banner on.
Aha, very good. Well, I was being from Texas. Dr. Pepper is a Texas product, and I was born in Texas and weaned on Dr. Pepper. It is without question my favorite soft drink. Nothing again. I like Coke too, but.
And I'm the Coke Zero guy.
Are you? Yeah.
I was gonna go. I'm gonna go down there and bug him for one of those Coca-Cola jackets, though.
That would be cool. Yeah, we would both look good in those, actually. You know. But yeah, we all have our own taste, I guess, in soft drinks, and I can't do Diet Dr. Pepper. You know, just.
And see, being diagnosed with diabetes a number of years ago, I had to move off all the sugar drinks.
Well, yeah,
and
I have
actually,
too.
Diet Dr. Pepper was one of the first soft drinks I was able to go back and enjoy drinking.
Really?
So
Well,
Diet Dr. Pepper works great for me.
Yeah, well, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm diabetic as well, and I don't drink Dr. Pepper the way I used to. It used to be, I would drink that instead of water, and can't do that any longer.
Right.
But anyway, we're glad to have all of the family of Coca-Cola products here as our official soft drink sponsor. And, it will be fun to see them lifting the American flag, being Balloon of the Day tomorrow.
Well, as Brad told us, the weather
should be great for it.
Great for for at least the next 3 or 4 days after that.
Yeah.
I think there's might be something coming in, but that's so far off. We'll figure that out when we get there.
On the screen, you're seeing the little yellow balloon with the Fiesta name on the side of it there, but I'm looking all the way across the field. There you see it with the orange or those red chevrons, I guess, and the colorful Fiesta.
This is a rebuild of the very first original Fiesta balloon.
I thought it looked familiar, but I
Yeah.
couldn't place it in my memory right
It's got a
offhand.
little bit different shape. It's not quite what we would call a racer, which we'll talk about later, but it's not quite as full as all the other regular shapes that we have here. It is a 77,000 cubic feet, but it's just a little bit different shape, but it is an actual rebuild of the very early Balloon Fiesta balloon. We have another Fiesta balloon out. In fact, there's actually 2 others around and still being flown. This is Ryan Gunter from Albuquerque standing up that Fiesta balloon for us. So quite a few of our balloons are now standing up. I actually see Arabelle the cow out there inflating.
I got distracted. I was setting up my spotting app on the iPad here, but I was going to mention right after we were talking about that Fiesta balloon that I saw Arabelle inflating down there near where Pegasus was. And this is one of those mornings when we may see some of the special shapes stand up and do static displays. Although, as I say that, there, ladies and gentlemen, goes the cool pig in the class. That is Pegasus, as you said, who has just broken ground and is launching now. There's a good shot of Arabelle lying on her side. That is one utterly big balloon. Sorry, I had to do that. I know it's early in the morning.
Do you remember when they first brought the Creamland cow balloon here?
Yep.
They actually used to hang a crescent moon below the basket.
They did. And
so
there
was
was
the cow jumping over the moon.
Exactly. We posted a picture of that in the magazine some years ago, the cow jumping over the moon. And I think it became an issue of, in some cases, landing with that inflatable moon down below it. Which reminds me of the story of one of Malcolm Forbes' special shapes, a giant macaw. I was at the Forbes Chateau the year it debuted.
Oh, wow.
And it had a long tail that, as any parrot does, that trailed down below the basket. Well, as they landed the balloon, the tail drug through the trees and they tore it. Well, that afternoon, some of Don Cameron's staff and the Forbes folks were out on the Forbes lawn putting a pulley in the basket and attaching a rope down to the tip of the tail so that before landing they could actually roll the tail up into the basket and then land the balloon without damaging the tail any longer. So just a little bit of ballooning history for you there. And speaking of history, I see Ruth is with a gentleman named Pat Fogue, and Pat certainly has some history in this sport. Go ahead, Ruth.
Yes, I'm with Pat Fogue this morning. Pat is flying the IMTS balloon this year. Pat, tell us about IMTS.
IMTS is the International Manufacturing Technology Show. It's the largest trade show in North America. It's basically the machines that make stuff. And so there's a lot of robotics and all that technology for the manufacturing world.
Is there any chance that you have some of this wonderful technology in your balloon, Pat?
Actually, there is, and it's quite interesting when we get there and all the machine heads get on the Lindstrand burners and check out how the blocks are made and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun.
So you have geeks on patrol. This must be a really fun flight with those folks.
Oh yeah, we just got done at Chicago. It's every 2 years it happens, and we were up there all week. And fortunately, the weather was good, and we had the IMTS balloon out front at McCormick Place in Chicago, down on the South Loop, and that was very successful. And now we're here at the Balloon Fiesta and hoping for a little better weather.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Pat. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Glenn?
Thank you, Ruth. And Pat, good to see you, my friend. And Art, I would say Johnny Petrin showed us and the Dominator showed us what we needed to know with regard to this morning's flight off the field, because by all of the activity on the field, it would appear that indeed we have cleared everyone for flight ops if they choose this morning, and all of them seem to be searching and finding that track to the northwest. So I think that's what we're going to see, at least until as Brad T. Meyer, was saying, the sun comes up and maybe impacts things, but right now we do have that nice flow to the northwest. There goes Scott McClinton in banner number 326, which is the U.S. Bank balloon that you see on the sky on the video feed there. Red, white, and blue balloon. Scott and his company run a number of other balloon festivals around the country. I work with Scott several times each year. Notably, he is the Balloon Meister, and he and his staff run the Eyes to the Skies Balloon Festival up in Lisle, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, which happens on the July 4th weekend each year.
Notice how low everyone is staying.
Well, I was just saying, as you were talking to the officials, they're all taking that northwesterly flow.
Even Sean Eskren in the Intel balloon here has kind of flown to the northwest corner of the field.
Yeah. I
So-
think, as I say, I was saying while you were chatting with the officials over on the tower that Johnny showed us that northwest flow so nicely that I think one, that gave the officials the confidence to open the field for flight, because they saw that we could go northwest into some of the prime landing zones out there.
And looking high from our vantage point, straight up above the U.S. Bank balloon, that balloon up there has basically stopped. Maybe drifting slowly to the east now that I watch.
But if you look a little, if you pan further around to the left, see the balloon that has the yellow and the red with the blue banana gores
Yes,
in
I
it?
believe that's Air Rages.
Okay, well, it's still
It's
it's high, but it's got that northwest flow, so that may indicate that it's getting a little deeper than it was earlier. Which would be a good thing for this morning, because that's a good direction. And there goes the Cox Utility Services balloon we were talking about earlier. Call 811 before you do any underground digging or digging underground or digging into the well, you know what I mean.
Before you put shovel to ground.
Before you call Shovel Man, call 811 to make sure that you're
so
safe
that you
to
don't
dig.
have to call Shovel Man later to get everything fixed.
Something like that. Can we move on now? Now that we've made a total mess of that, or I have.
Yeah, you got yourself in too deep with that one.
I
dug
myself a hole.
There you go.
Oh, gosh, it's going to be a long morning if we're going there already. Hey, there goes Master Yoda at the far northwest corner of the field. Yoda and Darth Vader both with us here from Belgium. And Yoda fly a wheel this morning. And there he goes. That's the backside, I think, of Yoda, obviously.
It is.
Which reminds me, I've got to pay far more attention to my hair on the back side of my head, because some of the pictures I saw in the open, I had way too much hair back there last year.
But I noticed you got it all coiffed before you came out
I
here.
did, but
just
now
the beginning of last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, not long ago. But then, I had to look good for the live stream. But then
sleep and wind and cats,
baseball caps. Yeah, the reason I've got the cap on today is only because I'm having a terrible hair day. I look like our PA Steve's hat this morning, with the hair just going in every which direction. I just got a quick glimpse of Barry Ballinger inflating the Bison balloon. Actually, that is the
Plains Capital Bank.
Yeah, thank you. It's sitting right here in front of me. The Plains Capital Bank balloon. Barry Ballinger. The balloon is actually called In the Buff, and the crew, I think we mentioned earlier this week, likes to fly around wearing T-shirts that say "We fly in the Buff," and they are here out of Lubbock, Texas. So that balloon will hopefully be. Oh, look at this. These are two of my favorite balloons. Well, there's the shot of In the Buff. Thank you, guys. The production team trying to follow our lead. There we go. Back to two of my favorite balloons that are international balloons. There is Cymbaloo, the lion from Longleat, the first wildlife safari park established outside of Africa 53 years ago now it was, when lions first came to Longleat, which is in the southwest of England, near a wonderful little village called Warminster. And then right beside it is the koala bear, and this is brand new. This balloon just debuted last month while we were over at Longleat. It is flown by my very good friend Richard Penny is flying, Cymbaloo. But the koala, to get back to my point, debuted at Longleat because very soon now they will be bringing koala bears to join the wildlife safari park there at Longleat in cooperation with a game facility in southwest Australia. So those two balloons brought to us by Andrew Hawley and Exclusive Ballooning, who also brings us the penguin family that I'm sure we'll see before the day is out. And with the koala bear symbolizing the fact that koalas are soon coming to Longleat. And
I'm reading the registration number. We usually in the U.S. call it the N number because U.S. balloons have an N starting out that number. But I'm looking at that G. D-A-A-Y.
Yeah, the registration is G'day, mate.
G'day.
Yep. Yeah, that's and there is one of the penguins. They're all right there together. I can't tell if that is Puddles or Splash. That's just coming up. If you don't know the story.
No eyelashes.
Okay, so that would be Puddles, who is the male and the original penguin of the family. There is a female version named Splash, and she is here. And, of course, Puddles and Splash, as penguins do, procreated, and Tall Steve is their baby chick, and all three of those penguins are here. Neil Langford and Chris Liebachuk are flying Puddles and Splash, and then
Tall Steve. Andrew's
Tall Steve. Yeah, Andrew.
Andrew's flying Tall Steve.
Oh gosh, Andrew Hawley is flying Tall Steve. Had a senior early morning moment there, and right here in front of us, Cynthia Seal. Yep, okay, Cynthia Seal is inflating right here in front of us, and she has become one of the more popular shapes, having appeared just this past weekend for the first time, and really is drawing quite a following now, is little Cynthia the Seal, and she's hidden right now from our view right behind the Dr. Pepper balloon and the Zia balloon. We'll see her in a moment. Meanwhile, Ruth Lind has another interview down on the field for us, so let's go down and see Ruth.
Yes, I do. I have Harry Season here with me this morning. Harry is another one of our Balloon Fiesta directors, and Harry's been having a lot of fun with Balloon Fiesta Live. He has some stories about that he'd like to share.
Well, thank you very much, Ruth. It's we're just a real thrill to have Balloon Fiesta Live here at Balloon Fiesta, and I was telling Ruth that some of my friends and colleagues from France were texting me yesterday and telling me that they're actually watching the event live in France. Of course, it's in the afternoon over there, so they get to sleep in. But how cool it is that we can get our friends from all over the world to be able to watch the event live. Very cool.
Do you want to say hi to them?
Hi, Sylvie and Marianne. And I got a text from Sylvie, and she said that she and Pascal will be here next year. So that would be great. So hi, Sylvie, and hope to see you next year.
Hi, Sylvie. Hi, Marianne. I remember you from last year, and we'll look forward to seeing you back again with us. Thank you, Harry.
Thanks very much, Ruth. Thank you to your whole team.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ruth. And please tell Harry I said hello. Harry and Rod May were the Balloon Meisters in 1990 here at Balloon Fiesta, my first year up here on the tower. So good to see you, Harry. Didn't mean to date Harry that way, but
that was we always have a pilot safety video that all the pilots who kind of gives them a quick overview of all the rules and regulations,
right.
And it's required watching before they fly here at Balloon Fiesta. And many, many years ago, we actually had quite a level of fun with those before we had to get a little more serious with them. And the year that you're talking about with Harry and Rod, they did a whole dragnet takeoff.
Oh, yeah?
In that pilot safety video. I'm now managing all the video efforts for Balloon Fiesta. Came across that video again the other day and remembered how quite clever and entertaining that video was.
I had seen Rod. He was at the Hall of Fame induction on Friday afternoon before we started, and I got a chance to see Rod then. And usually bump into he and Harry both at some point in time, but great memories because they were the first balloon meister and assistant balloon meister that I worked with here at Fiesta. And in the old days, they would be up on the tower with me where I did the announcing from, myself and my colleague then, Tom Rutherford. And so, I hadn't seen Harry yet, but great to see Harry. Nice that he's here. See a brand new. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, look what's happening to the balloons that are in the air now.
Oh boy, that northwesterly is turning west.
It is turning. It is turning on us.
And you can also, if you look out in the distance, you can see out in the Rio Dosa area. You can see not Rio Dosa, Rio Rancho. You can see the sunlight hitting the ground out there already and lighting things up. So I think that's an impact of the sun, which we don't see yet. It's not up over the clouds and above Sandia Peak, but it's high enough in the altitude that I think that westerly flow is grabbing hold, and that's great news for this morning's flight.
Yep.
That's
it
very
sure
good
is.
news.
But I wanted to point that out, that things are definitely shifting.
They are indeed, and that's good. I was going to point to, and I guess I'll wait now until we can see it better. I just noticed a new special shape that's here with us, and I saw it briefly, a little shape called Pixmart Doll, which is flown by a pilot, and boy, I'm going to murder this, Shenyu Chu, maybe? Here from Taiwan.
We've had a discussion about, is that Shenhua Chu is a Chu Shenhua? If we call him Chu, that works.
Well, okay, because in China it's the over there. If you read my name, it would be Moyer Glen as opposed to Glen. The surname comes first, and I'm not sure about if that's the case in Taiwan or not. Well, I'm sure probably someone watching in Taiwan will let us know that.
Exactly.
But yeah, and that might have been the balloon. We had people asking the other night, show the Taiwan balloon. Maybe that's the one they were looking for.
Might be. There's also one from Thailand here that we did see up on the very first Saturday.
Okay.
So we'll watch for that one.
But we'll try and show you that new special shape when they launch out of here.
So there's the Zia balloon of the McConnell family there with the red pennants, and of course the Zia right behind it. Cool beans, or as Glenn likes to call it, cool pickles.
Cool. I'm never going to live that down.
You will not. Barney Watson flying the cool beans balloon. The little beans around the bottom with the multicolor spiral up there.
Yeah, it didn't take long for Barney to send somebody up here to let me know. The first time I said that it looked like pickles on the side of the balloon, that one of his crew came up and said, "You numpty, that's beans. They're cool beans."
I had that discussion with one of his crew just the other day again.
Yeah.
And they said, well, I guess I could see how it could look like
a
pickle.
It did look like a pickle. But to get myself out of this pickle, I'm going to toss it down to Kim Vesley, who has an interview on the field for us. Go ahead, Kim.
Timed that right to the bird.
Okay, good morning, and we're out here on the middle of the field with all kinds of bears and cows and stuff, and we have a birthday girl with us this morning. Would you tell us what your name is?
Aloha.
Eloa, and how old are you today?
5.
And this is Aloa's mother, who is also...
Aloha.
That's easy to remember. We have a balloon taking off right over the top of us, hence the cheers. And and you guys are from where?
We're from Albuquerque, but originally I'm from South Dakota.
Well, that's great. And so what brings you out to Fiesta this morning?
It's her birthday. It's kind of what we like to do for her birthday.
Because it's always open on my birthday.
So you always come on your birthday, huh?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Do you have a favorite balloon?
Yeah, it's the animal ones.
The animal ones.
Well, we're surrounded by animals out here, so you ought to be very happy. Do you have a favorite balloon, Mom?
I like the Yoda one.
Ah.
That one's my favorite one.
That one looks like Hello Kitty.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let these guys go because they've been sitting here and they've been just looking at all the balloons going around us and just having a great time. So you have a wonderful morning out here, and thank you for being with us this morning. Art and Glenn, back to you.
Thanks, Kim. And Art, I just saw we were talking about digging myself out of a hole earlier. The Shovel Man balloon is now airborne off on the west side of the field. And a moment ago, we had a great shot on the screen of Cynthia Seal, who is becoming far and away probably one of the most popular special shapes to have debuted here this year. And it is there's a great shot of her right in front of the Coca-Cola balloon. Cynthia Seal, and what I love about it is look at the reflection in the eyes. Those are hot air balloons there, so that's awfully cool. And just launching behind it, there goes the shape I was talking about earlier. That is Pixmart Doll, flown by, again, we'll just say Chu, from Taitung, Taiwan. I hope we got somewhere close to correct on that. You just got a glimpse of him. He's behind Cynthia Seal now, wearing the little blue cap, but maybe we'll see it again in a few moments. And if you look right through the crowd, you can see some of the, there he is.
There you go.
Yeah. All the way here from Taiwan. So part of the international part of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
And one of the about a dozen new special shapes here as
every
part
year,
of the 100 that are here.
Right. Every year we always have a baker's dozen or so of new shapes that join us. And he's passing just in front of another new shape we talked about a moment ago, the koala bear. And there's Wes the Wolf. This looks to be, there's the entire Longleat fleet, as a matter of fact, from the wonderful safari park, Longleat in England. There's Wes the Wolf, who's turned around backwards. But there you see the koala bear, and then Cymbaloo, and there's Tall Steve, and then Puddles and Splash, all lined up. These are balloons that are all brought to us by Exclusive Ballooning, Andrew Holly's company over in England.
And Andrew let us know that there's yet one more to come.
There is, and I know what it is, but I'm sworn to secrecy. There is a new special shape. I will say it is not an animal. All of these are animal shapes.
Right.
This new one is not an animal. It flew up in Santa Fe a few days ago, so people up there may have gotten a glimpse of it.
And I know what it is too, but they didn't actually swear me to secrecy.
They actually swore us to secrecy. Yeah,
they did not me. But I will respect that piece.
If you ever hope to come over and join me in Longleat, I would suggest you keep your mouth shut.
I will do that. There goes Cynthia.
There goes Cynthia. Who knew that seals could fly?
Well, here at Balloon Fiesta, anything and everything is possible.
Including pigs can fly, as we know well from Doug Gant.
You betcha.
Yeah, that is a beautiful little balloon. If I had any sense,
I'd be taking a
picture, wouldn't I?
Yep. The only thing better would be having the sun up already.
Yeah,
but
I don't have my Canon camera here with me this morning, so I'm going to have to rely on the iPhone.
No.
Well, I used it yesterday at the BFA meeting, taking pictures of our award winners, and so I haven't gotten it out of the truck. I need to get my Canon back out, but I'm using my iPhone for now. And then there's one of our spotlights right in the, maybe I'm going to try taking a picture with a spotlight in it. That might be fun. See if that works.
Yeah. So the Festival International del Globo balloon is up in the air, as is the Van Gogh balloon. Van Gogh from the Netherlands, the Festival del Globo from Mexico, from Leon, Mexico, and the POWMIA balloon all getting off from the north end of the field as well. On our screen, we see Time and Peace, Glen's Pink Floyd balloon.
Yeah, the Pink Floyd album cover balloon. That's Gary Moore with the Time and Peace balloon. The festival, there it is, the Festival de Globos balloon. That is...
You know that we continue to bring these balloons here.
I don't want to say the wrong. It's one of the events up in Canada, and I don't want to say the wrong.
No,
one.
the global one is
no.
in
That's
Leon,
the one. That's Leon, Mexico. Sorry,
Leon, Mexico.
Yes, Leon, Mexico.
What I was
You're
about
right.
to say is we see these balloons, but what ends up happening is we put different pilots in them,
right,
depending on the day or even the year.
Well, and that worried me about Time and Peace. I wasn't sure that when I say Gary Moore's flying that, I'm not.
We know that we
positive.
at least know that's his balloon.
It's his balloon, but I'm not sure if he may. Sometimes these guys come in and do double duty in other balloons too.
Mario Mijares is flying the Fig Leon, or the Festival International del Globo Leon, Mexico balloon for us. At least he's scheduled that way. And that's the other deal. We are going by who is scheduled to be in the balloon, who is registered to be in the balloon, and we'll sometimes they change those out on us. There's a great shot of the Van Gogh balloon, and there's the rear end, the hind quarter, if you will, and now the full Creamland cow. From the southeast corner of the field, red, white, and blue zigzag pattern going up is Stars and Stripes. Andy Baird from Dexter, Michigan, flying. And that's one of those racer shapes. It's more cylindrical. It's not as bulbous as what we consider a regular balloon, the regular shaped balloon. And the idea behind those is the competitors really like those balloons because it is more cylindrical. They can ascend and descend at a faster rate of speed, being able to do that maneuvering that they need for the competition. So there's not a distortion of the balloon. So we'll see a lot of our really serious competitors flying those. So here's another red, white, and blue balloon, more the standard shape versus the Stars and Stripes we were just talking about, racer shape there. And we mentioned the KKOB balloon with Ron Curry. He is now getting off the field as well.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. That's okay. Now I'm looking. Just a moment ago, the winds were starting to shift back to the west. Now it looks like it's gone back more to the northwest again. So
yeah, it does look like it's turning a bit more. You're right. I didn't mean to bail on you, but I was just tweeting. I was tweeting a picture of Cynthia Seal out, so I couldn't tweet and talk at the same time. I'm not that ambidextrous.
Well, we had all those great comments from folks down on the field about Balloon Fiesta Live and folks watching from France and all those other places.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they missed those comments.
Oh.
We had a temporary network interruption down at our production truck. But we are back, and thanks for hanging with us and coming back with us. So our Facebook and YouTube feed is back up online, and we're back moving forward with that. Apologize for that interruption.
That's good, because I just tweeted the picture of Cynthia Seal and encouraged people to join us on Balloon Fiesta Live through the link at balloonfiesta.com. So hopefully people will come back on the feed. And I did see our very loyal viewer, Ina van der Kratz over in the Netherlands, did send me a message saying that the feed went out just shortly after we got started during the middle of Barry's Brad T-Meyer's talk this morning about weather, and so
unfortunately we couldn't tell everybody on the feed that we were no longer there
because the feed wasn't up to tell people that we weren't on the feed.
So we apologize for that, but we are back up now and moving forward, and hopefully that little interruption has been taken care of. There goes the koala in the air. And so we're actually moving pretty quickly towards clearing the field here. And we'll see what goes on with our competition. They tell me we are not doing the Sid Cutter Memorial today.
Okay. Well,
so,
that's a shame.
But, tomorrow's supposed to be a great day, and we may move it to tomorrow. And so we had planned for that today, but we'll carry on, as they say. And the idea here is this is probably about, maybe a couple hundred of our balloons were scheduled to launch from the field here this morning. Another 300 were scheduled to go somewhere else and launch with the intent of flying back here to the field as part of the competition.
There was a great shot of Tall Steve, the little penguin chick.
There's a nice shot up into the balloon.
Yeah.
So you get an idea of what it feels like to be standing right there in the basket in the burner looking up.
Is that right there at the Coca-Cola balloon, I wonder? Couldn't tell quite clearly. Was it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, great.
There's Wes the Wolf high in the sky, and as you say, the koala bear up there all by his lonesome right now. Carousel is just launching. There's a great shot on the screen of that. Beautiful hand-painted artwork all around that balloon. Pretty amazing to see, especially if you can get a chance to be here and be up close and personal with it and look at the amazing artwork on the side of that balloon. Honda Generators, their balloon will be launching in just a moment. The yellow balloon with the peacock pattern there to the sides. I see, there's Glow Kehoe with the Blue Chair Bay rum. Kenny Chesney's tour balloon is here with us. Glow Kehoe flying that. There's that shot looking up again into the Coca-Cola balloon, which should be launching here probably in just a few moments. And there goes our, that's one of our shapes. Come on, brain. It's the British Palace Guard. I know it has a name. I'll see if I can't find that for you quickly as we look at some other sites on the on screen. There he is. And that is Busby Queen's Guard, and that was Ian Martin who is flying Busby's Queen Guard from South Gloucestershire in the United Kingdom. So, just so I got that. Hey, Arabelle is airborne. Arabelle the cow from Creamland Dairies. It's a rare day generally when we see Arabelle fly. She generally only flies in very gentle, light winds, which we do seem to have this morning. We're looking at the utterly disgusting backside of the cow. I'm sorry, I just had to do that. But a brilliant hot air balloon. And years and years and years and years, she was always voted one of the top 3 special shapes by fans here at Balloon Fiesta. So great to see Arabelle
in the air.
But as you say, they don't have that moon dangling underneath that they used to in the original days.
If you look, even the feet are lower than the bottom of the basket.
They are indeed. And there was another balloon that flew here for years that was that way. That was the giant white Klondike polar bear. Remember that balloon?
Yes.
I actually had the chance to fly that balloon out in California one time, and it was the creepiest thing because the feet actually touch down and skim across the ground before the basket reaches the ground. Just the weirdest sensation flying that balloon to have that happen. It actually scared me because as we landed in a cut straw field, the feet dragging across the ground created this kind of a psst sound, and I thought I had a propane leak on board and almost panicked. flying it. But
so we have a
Arabelle
great,
has the same type of design.
I was going to say we have a great view here of the Pico balloon getting ready to take off, it looks like. And so they clearing areas in front of the – there must be – yeah, there he is behind the – I can't –
Yeah, he's
we have a great shot on the camera.
Yeah, he's beyond the pumpkin and behind this blue balloon with the rainbow stripes
there he goes.
Directly in front of us, blocking our view.
We chatted with them yesterday morning.
Yes, we did.
So
Pico, of course, is the balloon that represents the Saint Jean-sur-Richelieu event, which is just south of Montreal and is considered by many to be the Albuquerque of Canada.
Yes.
It's a wonderful event. I was lucky to fly in it some years ago.
But we had a nice shot there of them getting ready to take off.
Yep.
You could see them with clearing the crowd. We never actually saw the launch director give the thumbs up, but they had to have had that before they got in the air. So I was just going to talk a little bit about that. It's all of a sudden we just kind of cleared the field.
We
here,
sure
didn't we?
did.
Well, because it has to happen by 8 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock straight up now.
Yeah.
So it's like get them up and out if they're going, or put them down so that we can attempt to move forward with our competition here.
But the really good news, too, is that northwesterly vector has really held steady, and that's where all the pilots are heading out to. I bet there's going to be some playing in the river out there this morning.
That's a very solid pack of
balloons. That is a solid
pack
of balloons going that direction.
It is, and you're right. Splash and dashes
in
the river this morning.
The Rio Grande this morning, I think, are going to be the order of the day.
I agree with that. I saw the preventive pest control balloon take off a few minutes ago.
He's up there with the two spiders, one on each side.
And Don Moyer flying that. Don Moyer was awarded the Bill Murtough Award yesterday at the BFA meeting, I understand.
And there is Bimbo also flying, the bright white special shape Bimbo from Bimbo Bakeries. They are here on field with a great display where you can go by and sample some of their great baked wares. Or baked goods, I should say. They are the world's largest bakery. They actually are the umbrella organization for a number of other brands that you might know better. Brands, for example, like Entenmann's and Sara Lee, I think, is one of their brands, and several others. But they've been marketing Bimbo brand very heavily now for the last few years with the launch of the balloon. And normally Johnny Petron's in that balloon. But as he flies for them corporately, but he's flying the Cannon balloon here this weekend. We talked about guys sometimes doing double duty in different balloons. So
Bill Baker is flying
probably
Bimbo
Bill
here.
Baker usually is the backup pilot for that. So
and he is the primary here at Balloon Fiesta while Johnny does other duties.
Johnny does Cannon duties. Okay, and I think Ruth Lind has another interview for us on the field.
Oh.
I am so happy right now. I am with Jewel Cutter, one of my all-time favorite people in the whole world. I love you, Jewel.
Oh, thank you.
And Jewel and I were just talking about the beautiful Sid Cutter Pavilion over here on the east side of the field. Will you tell us a little bit about how that building came about?
Well, after Sid died, this city and Mayor Barry wanted to honor Sid. And the field is owned by the city, and it's in development layers. So it was kind of time to build the next section and the building was due to be built. And Mayor Kinney thought it would be nice to honor Sid by naming the building the Sid Cutter Memorial Pilots Pavilion.
And of course, Sid Cutter is the gentleman who founded Balloon Fiesta way back in the very beginning. There's a beautiful statue right outside of the Sid Cutter Pavilion, and it's a wonderful likeness of Sid, and his dog is in the basket.
Yes, we had two famous Labradors, and that's Sombra and Coco, and they're in the basket beside him. They actually did fly with him for years and many, many times. The statue was a private donation by balloonists, and it's a wonderful honor, and I'm honored to have it over there.
And we're very honored that you come out and join us every year, Jewel. It's so wonderful to see you. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Ruth. So, Jewel, wave up this way. Tell Jewel to wave up this way. There, yes, hugs it. I should also mention that wonderful statue over there at the Sid Cutter Pavilion. There is a miniature of that is awarded to the top competitor every year at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. So I can see that the flagging is being put up around the center of the field. And that means that we are getting ready to start our competition. So if you are near the center of the field, we need you to move to the outside. best to move to the east side probably, although the north and the south is a good spot. In fact, today I would say the north is going to be the perfect spot, the north end of the flagging. So if you still are out there kind of in the middle of the field, this is the time we need to ask you to move to the outsides of this. Our flagging is up. Get outside the flagging. We can't allow the competition to start till everyone is clear of that flagging area. So if you can hear me out there in the center of the field, please move to the sides of the field, north, south, east, or west. Get yourself outside the flagging. Kind of looking over behind us, though, I see that a number of our pilots have actually taken to the air. I didn't hear the all clear for them to launch out there, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Just means I didn't particularly hear it. The idea behind the competition is that those pilots that have taken off elsewhere, they had to be at least a mile away from the field. They will take off, and they will attempt to fly here to the field, and there will be different targets laid out on the field. They will fly in and drop a beanbag or a marker as close to the center of that scoring area as possible. And the steerage that happens in a balloon is really up and down. We can have a balloon go high, we can cool it off and bring it low, but the left and the right means putting our balloon in the wind that goes that direction. We've been talking all morning about how the prevailing direction this morning is out to the northwest. And if we look at all those balloons that have taken off from the field, that is exactly the direction they have gone. If you go higher, you'll see that like the carousel is out there. There's a little bit more to the north. If you go higher, if you stay low, it goes to the northwest. So our balloons have to be 500 feet before until they get to the park. Then they can drop to 200 feet above the ground. When they get to the grassy area, they can drop to 75 feet. The white and red pylons down at the south corners of the field here give the pilots an indication of how high 75 feet is. So they cannot drop below 75 feet until they get past those pylons. And then once they get to the flagging area, they can go down to the ground as long as they don't touch the ground. If they touch the ground, there will most likely be a penalty assessed to their competition score, and that would obviously not bode well for their overall and potential winning of the Sid Cutter Trophy that gets awarded for our overall winner of competition here. But I see a number of them. They're up high. They're flying to the north. And, of course, if they are directly over me now, when they drop, they will go to the northwest, and they will miss the field. But if I kind of look off to the southeast, I see that there is at least one out there that is there's a number of them that are high enough, and they are to the southeast of the field. So those to the southeast of the field, when they come in and drop down, they should have a great line back in over the target. So our competition is getting ready to get started. We still have a number of people out there in the center of the field. We need to get that area cleared because, as I mentioned, the pilots will be able to maneuver their balloons right down to the ground, and we need to have that cleared out so that our pilots can do that. So if you're still standing out there in the middle of the field, I do need to ask you to move to the outside. Get yourself east, west, north, or south outside the flagging area so that our competition can begin. We do competition on Monday. That's today. Tuesday, tomorrow, on Thursday, and Friday as well. So 4 days of competition, kind of a informal competition on Wednesday. But the other 5 days of Balloon Fiesta, it's mass ascensions. And, of course, Thursday and Friday, we feature our special shapes with a rodeo in the starting off the morning, competition in the later part of the morning, and on Thursday and Friday afternoons, a special shapes Glowdeo, where we stand up all 100 special shapes and do a balloon glow with them, a static display, a great night for you to be out here on the field with our special shapes on Thursday and Friday. Speaking of special shapes, there is one of our special shapes still putting some cold air into the balloon out on the north end of the field. That appears to be our little Cosmo, our little astronaut boy. That would be Jerry Holmes. Cosmos 1. The orange white, and red. A little astronaut boy when he stands up, if they allow him to stand up here, because, again, we're about to do our competition here. Little spaceman. So if we were to look high overhead, we've got that whole group of balloons that we're seeing on our feed right now. Those are the ones that took off from here. They're all out to the northwest, and since many of them seem to be at treetop from our vantage point here, they're going to be dropping into the river, or many of them will. We're starting to see some of the competitors come overhead, and I'm looking up and I see the little blackbird with the yellow balloon. I don't know if we can get our camera up that high or not. He's almost, can't quite get there. He's almost straight overhead. Bird Willie there. And the idea is coming in, moving to the north, but unfortunately when he drops down, he's going to veer off to the west, and he will be too far away to drop a marker. Even higher up, which I can see the tripod won't go that high yet. Won't tilt that far up. That looks like a kaleidoscope up there. That's either Ray Bear or his son David Bear. That's one of those that the balloons are actually identical, and unless you can see the banner number or who's flying it, you're not really sure which one that is. And I see a red, white, and blue balloon with a nice silver star in it dropping down from the north end of the field. So he's trying to drop fast enough to get down to be able to catch the corner of the field there. Unfortunately, I still think the winds on the ground are going to take him away, and he might catch the edge of the field there, but the targets tend to be more kind of spread out through the area and not up against the edge. So I was telling folks, Glenn, that how the competition here is in that many of the balloons I see coming in early are going to come right over the top of the field, and so when they drop down, they're going to miss off to the side because of that direction to the northwest. There are a couple over here to the side.
I was just looking off to our right, and this balloon that is looks like red and kind of a lime green or a fluorescent green, that might be pink. Looks like he's coming, as we talked earlier this morning, with a little more easterly, coming from the south, but more to the eastern side of the park, and they would be in a position, we think at this point, to come in, drop down, and then use that easterly east to west flow to come across the park.
He is there, but as I look above, there's a whole lot more. There's a little bit more off to the side here that they're going to be drifting off away from us here.
Well, and one of the guys who should be able to tell us exactly what the pilots are doing this morning is
sir.
down with Ruth. That is our balloon meister and event director. That would be Sam Parks. So, Sam, tell us exactly what's going to happen today.
Well, as you can see, we have a great launch here at Balloon Fiesta Park this morning, and our competition balloons are actually flying in from the southeast. We've got a multiple judge declare goal here at the field. They've got a couple of X's that they can drop their bean bags on, their markers. So you'll see some of the balloons flying away this morning, and you'll also see a lot of competition. And that's actually going to go to 9:45. We've extended it to 9:45 this morning.
That's great, Sam. I know that earlier this morning we had to really take a careful look at the weather and what was going to happen. Can you tell us a little bit about how that process works for you in the morning when you're getting ready to send the pilots out to fly?
Sure. Chief Meteorologist Brad Tiemeyer, he takes a look at the weather starting at probably 3:15 to 3:20 every morning. He's got his first report. And we had some rain showers in the area. We had some wind directions that wasn't the best. So he starts to analyze that, and we start making decisions based on his reports.
And you're always looking at safety as your very first concern.
Absolutely, because 550 balloons, that's safety is first, not only for our balloonists, but also our spectators. So we want to make sure that it's going to be a safe, coordinated launch.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Lynn.
Ruth, can you ask Sam real quickly, are there 2 targets or 3? I see 2. Just want to make sure we know where they are.
Oh, sure, Glenn. There are 2 targets on the field, and the pilots can actually choose whichever one they want to go to.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. Good morning.
So there's the word right from the man who's making those decisions, Sam Parks.
He's the boss. So, yeah.
Balloon Meister, Director of Operations for the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. What a great guy to work with.
Yeah, Sam is a past president of the Balloon Federation of America, been 6 years on the board, just going off the board of directors, and and been a friend of mine for ages. So great guy to work with, and thrilled to have him here as part of our team now at Balloon Fiesta. Coming into the park now, another of my longtime friends, my neighbor, Pat Harwell, in the balloon called Maverick. That's that royal blue balloon with the purple, green, and gold or Mardi Gras spiral in it. Pat is from my
just down the
town of
street,
residence.
right?
Yeah, just down the just at the opposite end of the airport runway from me in Keithville, Louisiana. And so I love it when I get to talk about him and put a little extra pressure on his throw in the competition. I'm going to watch through our Canon binoculars and see how he does today. Passing right in front of Cosmos now. Dropping down, and obviously as you come into the target, you want to get as low to the ground as you can, and once you're inside the crowd line, you can get right on the deck. He's going to wind up his marker.
Yep, I was going to say wind up and give it a throw there.
Not doing a very good job of winding it up.
Looks like he keeps getting it caught.
I think it got caught. There it went. Now you're having to throw back to the target. So not really a very good approach for Pat this morning.
Great approach, not so good at throw.
Yeah, not so good at throw. And that's one of the things that happens when you do that wind-up. We'll see a lot of pilots doing that. It's kind of like throwing a pass in football. 3 things could happen. 2 of them are bad. And it looks like both of those happened to Pat. One, it got caught up a couple of times in the rigging as he tried to make the throw, which then delayed the throw, which meant he was further off the target. He scored, but certainly not as well as Pat would like to, I know.
Yellow one with the black snake going around it. That's Maharani, Megan Skelton from Castle Rock, Colorado, dropping in one of those racer shapes here. And then here's the Frost Maze banking group, the silver one with the red pieces here. And we'll watch and see how they manage to drop their markers on the targets.
I have to quickly say, hi, Megan. I'm Glen. We have this kind of ongoing joke between us that we introduce ourselves each time we see each other. I'm not sure she can't hear me right now, but.
So it appears that she has blown off her approach there to go back up.
The marker is still hanging out the side of the basket. I was watching for her to drop it.
And, of course, a definitely different perspective from our angle as to are they over it, are they left of it, are they right of it, where does it all line up from what they have?
Yep, Megan's winding up. There goes her marker.
Oh, there it goes.
I'm going to follow it down and
decide to throw it from high. I could see it. We may have some high releases of those markers.
Well, she scored.
If you get in the flagging, you're going to score.
Yeah.
And, a lot of pilots say, if I see the target, in my brain I scored.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I'm seeing a whole lot more of them. So those very early ones that were coming in obviously misjudged it a little bit, but the second kind of group, not that they're in any kind of order, but the ones who waited a little bit longer or just chose a little bit different launch site.
Well, as you know, what typically happens, there's always those few pilots who like to be first, and they get up and do it their way.
Yep.
And then the other guys, a lot of us, I always did, I preferred to be kind of about middle of the pack because that gave me a lot of balloons in front of me that I could go to school on. I could see what the wind was doing to their trajectories, and I could therefore adjust my own flight path accordingly. And I think that's what we see happening is the first few balloons kind of flew on their own, and now we've got a whole parade full of balloons doing exactly what we said they would be doing earlier, Art. They're all coming in from the south, obviously, but with an easterly component so they can then drop down and cross the field southeast to northwest. The key really now is judging where to make that descent and to get down over the park so that the flow then carries you out and over the targets.
Yellow, red, blue, checkerboard one coming in. That's Bernard Smatana from El Paso, Texas. The balloon named Eminence. Looks like he may be
as in his or her eminence?
Probably. We'll kind of watch and see. They may be a little farther south of the target, but we'll watch and see.
Yeah, I'm using our great Canon binoculars, and I've got a great view right into the basket.
Definitely a busy time there. trying to fly the balloon, trying to navigate it to the target, watching out for all the other balloons that are flying around you.
I did not see them drop a marker.
I did not either.
So,
but they may fly because they're kind of spread across. I see. Yeah, you might still.
Well, there is a second target on that side of the field, so
yes.
they might.
And as Sam told us, it's pilot's choice as
right.
to which one of those
they
want
to
drop on
either target and score equally on either one. One of the balloons coming in now is the one that Ruth Lind had an interview with earlier. Remember, she interviewed pilot Pat Fogue, and Pat is flying the IMTS balloon. He told us all about it, and there it is, the white balloon with the blue and green swooshes around it. And
swirls?
Swirls. Yeah, swirls is probably a better word. And the IMTS logo. Pat is a top-notch competitor, has been for a long, long time, corporate pilot as well as competitive pilot. And so I'm going to keep an eye on Pat, see how he does. And that IMTS got some silver starburst on it. That's a pretty balloon.
There's another pair of identical balloons out there. They're not quite so identical because one is many years older than the other, but the pattern is the same. The very bright white with the multiple colors going up is EOS, and that's Ralph Kaiser. The more dull white with the multicolored pinks and oranges going up.
That would be the original
That would
EOS.
be well, actually, that's the second EOS. There was a first.
Okay.
So we're seeing generations 2 and 3 here.
Okay. Well, generally, if it's a white balloon in Albuquerque, the whiter one is the newer one.
And that's exactly the case there. So the brighter one, and that brighter one's only about maybe about 3 months old, I think now.
And actually, that's true of any white balloon because white is very hard to keep clean. So once it's been flown for a while, although I must say the IMTS balloon looks very bright white. And they did have an orange balloon. This is the second IMTS balloon, as a matter of fact.
163.
Wow, Pat Fogue just nailed it in the IMTS balloon. Put his marker right down on the X. Nicely done, Patrick. And the Hearts of Fire balloon team dropping in. The pink balloon with the Valentine hearts all around it. They're right in the center of the field. But, boy, Patrick just put his marker right on the X.
Good for Pat.
Well done.
Solid red one on the far end of the field. That's called Stripe. Thomas Oberheide from Cary, Illinois. Probably too far out on the north end to get
I haven't seen Tom in years. That's great to know that Tom's here.
He is here.
You know, what else is developing, Art? There's some speed coming into play now.
Yes, there is.
Some of these pilots that are coming into this southeast-northwest flow are moving at a pretty good pace as they come over the crowd.
Which is why one of the reasons we have the flagging area there to make sure that they have plenty of room to maneuver, and that's
right.
Takes one more obstacle out of the equation.
They also, the pilot has to be at least 75 feet over the crowd as they once they cross inside the flagging, then they can come directly to the deck if they wish.
Yes.
But as they come into Fiesta Park, they have to be at a minimum of 75 feet altitude. And these pylons you see in some of the corners of the field, if you look, see the big white pylon with the red and white striped top, that is a 75-foot tall pylon, so it helps the pilots to know if they are at legal altitude as they come into the target zone area. So that's why those are out there.
Just had on our feed a great shot of a throw from one of our baskets. I missed who that was. I'm going to see if I can verify the. Not sure which one that came from. All these inputs we have here sometimes.
Right,
you
yeah.
know?
I hadn't even thought about it. I'm looking through my binoculars. I hadn't even looked at the monitor to see what we're showing on the feed. One of the balloons coming in. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's the Wendy's-sponsored balloon dropping in on the feed that we're seeing right in front of us.
And I was going to say two balloons that are high in the sky, one climbing rapidly with the big stripes of green, yellow, red, and blue. That's a balloon called Bill's Turn. That's Billy Adler out of Longview, Texas. And high above him, the yellow balloon with the rainbow spiral stripes, that is Lee Little from here in Albuquerque, and flying what used to be one of my balloons. So always interesting when you see one of your balloons in the air with another pilot. But he's staying up very high, too. And there is the Slanja balloon team. The official New Mexico State tartan balloon is high in the air as well. The pattern representative of the official state of New Mexico tartan, which is blue, green, yellow, and red. You can see that balloon high over the crowd to the east of the field there.
You know this orange racer coming in, don't you?
That's either Nick or Chase. I can't recall which of it's one of the Donners. Let's see if I can get close enough with my binoculars. I don't recall which one flies I want to say that's Nick that flies the orange one.
Nick is correct.
Yep, that's Nick. And Nick is a 5-time U.S. national champion, a world champion. His younger brother, Chase, is also a past national champion.
You know, Nick is flying solo in the basket, which isn't unusual for these.
For competitors, that's usually standard.
Exactly where I was headed here. We've seen many of the balloons come across with a number of people in the balloon. Yes, competitors, but the really serious ones.
Yeah, the really serious competitors are prefer to fly solo and concentrate purely on the flight. I used to carry passengers because I was a middle-of-the-road competitor.
I did too.
But it was always a bit distracting because just at the wrong time, a passenger would say, "Oh, why is that balloon going down?" Or "It looks like he's in the trees," or whatever, and it would distract me from my flying. That was always my excuse as to why I didn't do better in competition. While we continue to watch the first wave of balloons coming into the target, let's go back down to the field, and Ruth has another interview for us. Ruth?
Good morning. I'm here with Jetta Shantz, and we were just trying to figure out how long ago it was that I went down to Jacksonville when I was editor of Ballooning magazine to cover a balloon festival you guys were doing down there. We've come a long way since then, and now Jetta has just been elected to the board of directors of the Balloon Federation of America. Congratulations, Jetta.
Thank you.
And what would you like to do on the board?
Well, one of the things we're really focusing on lately with the organization is raising up our junior balloonists, the future pilots that we'll see out here in Albuquerque 5-10 years from now. So I'm really excited to work on that, and then also a lot of emphasis on safety because that's so critical to the sport. So I'm going to be working with the insurance committee and also the safety seminar committee, and I'm very excited about that.
Now, one of the large new things that the BFA, the Balloon Federation of America, has been coping with in the last year is the new Balloon Safety Act. Do you have any words of wisdom for us on that?
Well, it's obviously passing through the House and the Senate. The final wording hasn't been put together yet, and we're still working on a monthly basis with the Congress and the lawmakers to coordinate together what's going to be best for the industry in regards to safety and for our pilots. So right now it's up in the air, as we say often.
But I think it's wonderful that the FAA and Congress is working so closely with the BFA on this.
It really is, and we have an amazing crew of BFA leaders and pilots within our organization that have formed a committee to work really hard on that. It'll probably affect most our commercial pilots primarily, but it's a really wonderful thing in the long run, I think, for all of us.
That's terrific. Jetta, thank you so much for your service to our sport, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Ruth, and thanks to Jetta. And just a quick shout out, her husband, Rob, a longtime good friend of mine, was a previous past president of the BFA. So it's nice to see that both Rob and Jetta heavily involved in the sport and giving back to the sport that they love so much. Jetta also has set a couple of world records in hot air balloons. She's a world record holding pilot, and so good to have her joining us on the BFA Board of Directors. Ruth, of course, you served on the board for at least I know one term, if I remember correctly, after you were editor of ballooning. So, yeah, lots of folks that get involved in the sport find ways to give back, and that's always a great thing. We continue to see a steady stream of balloons, Art, across the field, some of them coming so quickly it's almost impossible for me to find them in the spotter fast enough, those that I don't know personally. But I have noticed, one thing I've noticed is as you come down and make your approach to the target, you really have to be spot on because there is no steerage.
There's no steerage
on the
there.
field. Where you cross the field is where you're going to cross, and if you're not right on the line of the target, you're just not going to get there. Some years we've seen where the balloons come and literally can hang in the sky above Fiesta Park and can move around and go this way and that and climb up and come back and all of that. Today, it's one of those days where you got one shot at it.
That's it.
One quick shot across the field. You either get it or you don't. There's just no other.
That's it.
No other option this morning.
And I don't think any way back around a second time.
I haven't seen that developing.
There are some different directions, but there's nothing coming back.
Well, yeah, if you look, I see Lee Little in what was my balloon at one time, way up there. He went very high, but he seems to have just stalled there. He's certainly not moving back. Now, way over to the right, that balloon with the red zigzag kind of spiral looks like around the center of it. I don't know where he started from, but he is far off to the east, but that may be just that he was there originally and went high and is just staying there. A couple of the Hartzells are coming in now in their matching balloons. There's the Krispy Kreme balloon as well, making their approach. The Hartzells, there are 3 of them flying here, father and 2 sons, Rhett, Lucas, and Joe, the father. I don't know which is in which balloon. We never do because the balloons are identical, and they just will not do something to make them different so we can identify them. It's one of my pet peeves about the Hartzells, though they're longtime, very dear friends.
Well, I understand there's actually a very slight – the one that's closest to us appears to have an outline on the stars.
Yeah, they
but
tell me.
But the other one over, it's not. But it's so difficult to see that. So that's
and even so, I'm not always sure which one's flying, the one with the silver outline and which one doesn't.
Understand.
Trying to see with my binoculars if I can pick out if that's Joe or Rhett. Lucas.
It kind of looks like Joe.
I'm kind of thinking that's Joe.
With the outline on the
stars. In the leading one, yeah.
Yes.
The lower one, and then
007 is the upper one.
Well, there's a basket banner if we can get that.
Yeah, the upper one is 007.
And the lower one is 020 something.
So Lucas is in 007. That's the higher one.
Okay, 021 I think is the banner number on the lower one.
So that would be Joe.
And that's
we picked
Joe.
that out.
Yeah, I think that is Joe. Okay, very good.
By the way, those low numbers correspond to their finishing position last year.
Oh, okay.
So Lucas was 7th last year, so he's flying 007.
Ah. Well, that means Joe would have been 21st.
I'm not sure how far down the line that goes.
Oh, okay.
But, yes.
Well, you wouldn't want to be flying number
4,000.
Yeah, 652 then. At least if you are, you're not saying, oh, yeah, this is where I finished last year.
Yeah. Well, the banner numbers, they're not sequential. They're in waves.
And we just had the pilot flying the
it's got an Albuquerque banner on it.
Yeah, it's the Visit Albuquerque balloon. And they just had what sometimes happens, an unfortunate contact with the ground in the scoring area. That usually will cost you some points. Penalty on your score. You're not actually allowed to touch the ground inside the scoring area.
Dave Eichhorn flying Marauder's mark.
Okay, and just above him in that bright yellow balloon with the starburst on it, I believe that's the Mission Linen balloon. They've been a longtime sponsor of Balloon Fiesta. The Weather Channel balloon is also out there.
And you are indeed correct. That is Mission Linen again.
Okay.
Lofty Fiesta, Jerry Graff.
Jerry Graff, yeah. And the Weather Channel balloon is just a little ahead of it, blue on the bottom, blue and black, with white and silver bands around the center. And they were doing some live streaming from here at Fiesta Park earlier this week as well. Here comes the other of the Hartzell balloons. So if Lucas and Joe have been by, would this be Rhett way up high?
It would have to be, right?
Well, I think it would. But see, this one also has the silver outline on the stars. But yeah, I believe this would be.
So I was going to say, all right.
So I'm pretty sure this would be Rhett. And Rhett is a recent world champion and past national champion.
So you can see what we talked about with those racers, those more football-type shaped balloons, being able to drop a little bit faster here and not experience any distortion of the balloon envelope.
And Rhett's dropping to the target, coming down certainly over the crowd.
And, yeah, he was definitely very high and came down very quickly, certainly safely.
Got his marker in hand. There goes the throw. And he's just on the edge of the X. Nicely done. Red Hartzell, part of the Hartzell flying family. There is the state of Colorado balloon way overhead. And also coming into the target zone is Sherry Edwards-White, the current president of the Balloon Federation of America. We were just talking with Jetta Shantz, one of the board of directors.
The balloon you see on our feed here with the turquoise and the orange at the bottom, it's got silver diamonds above it.
And that's Mark Sullivan just behind him that has landed on the field. in his balloon, the red one with the red, yellow, white, and black spiral.
Right. You see him on the ground. You see the bottom of the one I started talking about, Flame On, Jaybird Mason from Albuquerque flying for.
Oh, that's Jaybird?
That's Jaybird.
Oh, wow.
In Donate Life New Mexico Donor Services. He's
And
got a nice slow pass over the field there.
Yeah, Mike Bowens is coming across the target area now in that balloon that has the sunset and the palm trees on it, and Dr. Bill Bussey, the founder of the Great Texas Balloon Race, coming into the scoring area as well in his balloon that is black with the forest green and blue diamonds in the center.
I see one of those racers, black at the top and the bottom, and palm trees going around.
That's
Ray Klein.
Oh, is that Ray Klein?
Ray
I thought
Klein
that
is flying that one today.
Okay, I thought that was Mike Bowens.
No, I don't see Mike is listed on that one.
Okay.
Now here comes one of our ride balloons in on the very south end of the field here, and you really get the difference of, we talked about competitors flying solo, and here's one of our ride balloons that has probably 6 or 8 people in it that is landing right here on the south end of the field.
Well, and I'm watching both Ray and particularly Dr. Bill Bussey through my Canon binoculars to see how Bill does.
There's a great shot of Scooby Racer there, Ray Klein, that one with the palm trees.
Bill's had his marker hanging over the side of the basket. I think he's going to one of the far targets, or the far target. There's only 2 on the field. One on the east side, one on the west.
And we're seeing, we've got a great shot of Bill Bussey winding up.
Yeah, he's winding up that marker.
And we've got it on our feed here.
Okay, well, I'm looking through the binoculars, so I don't see the monitor. There's
That's
Zarek Wells. There goes Bill. Well, he's down in scoring area, but not the best throw for Bill. There's Zarek Wells, I think, is in the mustache balloon. Did you say that was the Guilty balloon?
Guilty balloon, brand new.
And he's the editor of the Quad A newsletter, the Albuquerque Aerostat Ascension Association, the regional balloon club here in Albuquerque. Coming to the target now in the balloon with the Texas star on it, yellow with that Texas star and the swirled racing stripe, is Gary Haven. He and his wife, the founders of Curves. And Gary is a past Texas state champion, a real philanthropist and great supporter of competition ballooning in the United States. And he's got a nice, slow, low approach going here. I'm going to watch Gary.
Got one coming right in over our sponsor Hospitality.
I hear the burner
one
overhead.
One a little high and one right off the edge
I'll
of the
tell you
roof
what,
here.
Gary's going to nail this thing. I'm looking at his approach.
Yep.
He's down low on the deck and he's a little bit away from the target. Maybe he's going to drift all the way to the far target. He's just passing one of the targets.
We have a great view of that on the feed there so that you know as you watch it on your binoculars. And
if we had binoculars, I could keep one eye on the monocular and one on the monitor, but since they are binoculars, I've got both eyes glued to my binoculars.
Kind of dropping in quickly just on the south end here as you continue to watch the Texas Star Balloon. Colleen Johnson coming in with Mary Alice in Wonderland. She's arrested the descent there, stopped the descent, and going to be flying on. Another one of our ride balloons landing on the south end of the field here as well.
Well, and just cutting in front of Gary Haven is Steve Jones in that yellow balloon with the orange checks around the bottom.
Yes.
There went Gary's throw, and he's about where Dr. Bussey was. Steve Jones has a pretty good approach going, it looks like. He may have already thrown his marker. I didn't see.
But definitely still some maneuvering going on.
Yeah,
there.
Steve is
get a little here, a little up here. Maybe something will shift for us.
Yeah, Steve's a past national champion too. Now that I take the binoculars down, I can see he's further away than I thought from the target and probably already dropped his marker. But both of them.
Yellow balloon with the red shape of New Mexico patch on the side of it, flying the Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors banner. That's Eric Greenwood, the name of the balloon, Enchanted. Just saw that on our feed there. He's kind of drifted in almost directly from the east across.
Almost, yeah. But as we were saying,
what a view from straight up here. Another our ride balloons with Rainbow Riders, folks that are getting their bucket list checked. They're getting a great view here because they're coming in right over the field as well. They're not competing, obviously.
Right.
But what a great view those riders are getting right over the field, over the competition field here.
And you can still check in with Rainbow Riders. We've got many days yet to go. This is only day 3 of 9 for Balloon Fiesta this year. And you can certainly check in with them to see if they have any slots available one of the remaining days of the week. And maybe you can take a look and see Balloon Fiesta from the pilot's eye perspective, if that is something you might be interested in doing. You can check with Rainbow Riders on their website or right here on the field. They have a booth here on the field where you can check in.
They're a long row P.
Yeah, I was just looking at Lee Little, who was, again, flying one of my old balloons, and it was way up high earlier. He's finally descended, but he's down out over the Pueblo now, so that his idea of going high
did not work.
Did not work as far as getting to the field.
Well, there's as many strategies as there are pilots and crew members.
There are indeed.
Because there's multiple strategies even on the crew, and, of course, the pilot's the one that's got to implement one. So.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't realize there were two, but Steve Jones, I was talking about a moment ago from Belton, Texas, who went by in his racing balloon that was yellow with an orange checkered pattern around the bottom. Here's a round balloon with the very same pattern. I didn't realize. I don't know if that's see if I can find that in the spotting guide. I don't know if Steve has two balloons now or.
I think I found it here. Dick Goss. Flying Last Mango from Leander, Texas. So
all right. Well, Dick and Steve are longtime ballooning friends, and so it may be that, or it may just be that Dick had a balloon built that was the same pattern as Steve's. I believe that's an Ultramagic construction, if I remember correctly. So, but that's obviously a larger version of the same pattern balloon, but it would make sense that Dick's flying that because Dick and Steve live in the same area of Texas and have been friends for a long, long time.
It is an Ultramagic built in 2004.
Ah, see? Sometimes I do know what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Not very often, but sometimes.
Yep. It's amazing how some of those facts just stick in there.
Speaking of balloons that look alike, there are a couple more of them that are making their approach and will be in view very shortly. And they are the balloons of Dale Wong and Jeff Bennett. And I had a conversation with Jeff Bennett on the field just yesterday after flying, or actually after our static display. Dale Wong is here from Rancho Cucamonga, and Jeff is also from out in California. I can't place him at the moment. You could probably look him up there, Art. But they fly, Jeff now flies what was Dale's original balloon. It's green with broad stripes of purple, burgundy, blue, and yellow around the center of the balloon. Dale now flies the racing balloon, which is the lead balloon of the two coming into the park now. And then slightly behind him in this next little group is Jeff Bennett. But Jeff used to always bring me, from the airline he flies for, a box of Biscoff cookies.
Oh.
And someone told him I didn't like them or didn't eat them anymore. And I certainly had to correct him for the record about that last night. And he said, well, we had several cases of them we had to just give away the other day. And I said, well, darn it. But not that I need them, but I do love them. And now he's getting to the field in front of Dale because the wind at the lower level moving quicker. Dale is descending now in the racing version of this balloon, the green balloon, again with the burgundy, pink, blue, and gold stripes on it. But there is the round balloon with Jeff Bennett on board actually coming into the target zone in front of him. So the lower wind speed, Dale continuing to descend, but the lower wind speed bringing Jeff Bennett into the target area in front of Dale now, though Dale was leading him in initially.
Definitely shows the different speeds at the different altitudes.
Yeah, and not very much altitude difference between them, actually, but just enough. Let's see if I can get a binocular view of Jeff and see how he does coming across the target.
Just to the north of Jeff is Heffron and Bright Idea. That's the yellow, purple, and green spiral one.
Looks like he's just almost on top of Jeff.
Yep.
Maybe dropping in front of him a little bit. Nope.
Trying to slide in there.
Yeah. All right. Jeff's got his marker out.
And the balloon on the bottom has the right of way because they can't see up.
Yeah, I'll relay a quick story here about that in just a minute. Watching Jeff does have his marker being blue.
And I'll watch the other one.
And he's not doing any wind-up just yet.
I don't see one in the yellow and purple spiral either.
And if he's not winding up, that means usually you got a pretty good approach.
He may be a little bit south of the target on that side of the field.
All right, now Jeff's beginning to wind up the marker.
Oh, there goes the throw from the other one. It's right off the edge of the X, so they're right there.
There goes Jeff's throw. And I lost it against the backdrop there when it fell. But anyway, Jeff Bennett, nicely done. Quick story about the lower balloon having right-of-way. One year when I was competing here at Albuquerque, we were flying into the target zone, and I was up high coming down, and there was on an angular track, and there was a balloon below me that was coming straight into the target. We crossed into the scoring zone, and as we did, I was right on top of him and couldn't see anything but the top of his balloon, and we went right through the target scoring area that way. I knew he scored well because I heard this huge cheer go up, and just about the time that we cleared, I threw my marker, and it went soaring down right to the edge of the flags, and then just as it got to the flags, it took a little bit of a dip and went underneath and outside of the scoring area. And it was all because I couldn't maneuver. I couldn't get below the, lower because there was a balloon below me, and he had right-of-way, so I had to respect that and had to hold my marker, and as I held it, I eventually ended up outside of the scoring area. This is Ken Walter coming into the scoring zone now. Ken is here from Wisconsin. That balloon that is rainbow-colored checks at the top and the bottom and that zigzagged white, big white band in the center of the balloon. Ken runs at least one nice balloon event up there in the Wisconsin area, former member of the board of directors of the BFA, and is also a commercial ride pilot.
Following him in the yellow and blue vertical patterns, flying the banner for the Bank of the West, that's Craig Hayes in Beautiful Noise.
And Craig's another of the many Texas pilots that are here.
And
I was just about to say, there are still a few balloons behind us that are still coming in, so we're not done just yet this morning.
Yep.
As we said, though, the target is open until 9:45, which is
another hour away.
Another full hour away. I don't think we're going to need it that long this morning. But what that does mean is that potentially somebody could wait until, 9:10, 9:15, 9:20-ish, 9:30, and launch. I don't think anyone would do that, but
not this
morning.
No.
But it's possible.
Hey, there's Bounce overhead. Mostly yellow, a little blue and purple and orange at the very bottom. Bounce is being flown. That's Chief Justice of the New Mexico State Supreme Court, Judy Nakamura.
Oh, is that Judy's balloon?
That's her balloon.
Okay.
She flew Fiesta on opening day.
Yeah, she was our balloon of the day.
That is her balloon that she flies all the time. She also flies Smokey Bear balloons sometimes.
Sometimes. There's a group of pilots who take turns, I think, flying Smokey Bear.
You bet. So that they can keep Smokey in the air, and the same pilot doesn't have to be there every single time as it travels the country.
This yellow balloon with the pink and teal lattice work on it used to belong to some friends of mine in Louisiana. I'm not sure who's flying that. Now, can you find that on
Let's see if I can
come up with it on our scoring app here, or our spotting app.
Got it.
You got it?
That would be Anthony Haynes.
Okay.
From Houston, Texas.
From Houston, Texas, yeah. Well, now that I think about it, the original owners, and I'm trying to bring their name to mind, and I can't. Gosh darn it. But they lived originally in Louisiana and then did move to Texas, to Houston, so probably sold the balloon there.
Ahern Reynolds balloon coming in.
Yeah.
Kind of high and a little bit to the south here.
And one of my favorites coming in now, this racing balloon over here to the east, the purple balloon with the crisscrossed teal, purple, pink, and yellow.
Oh, there we go. Almost couldn't see it for the roof.
Yeah, it's just coming into view over our roof, and that always reminds me of an Easter egg. I've always thought
I would agree.
If it were my balloon, I'd call it the Easter egg because that's what it reminds me of. Not that means a great deal, but
the real name of that balloon is Listo.
Okay. How do you find that so fast? I can't do that.
Well, since I'm the one who puts the colors and the shapes
this,
in.
And you know how to do all the searching, and I guess I haven't spent enough time with the app to learn that.
And I kind of remember the key words of the colors and the patterns type of thing.
This is a very special balloon that's flying into the target now area. This is from Ultra. Thank you, Ultra Magic. It is the balloon called Friendship. A very unique story about this balloon, which is currently featured in the current issue of Ballooning Magazine, by the way, that you can get by being a member of the Balloon Federation of America, and you can do that by logging on to bfa.net. This balloon has traveled all around the world, and on each flight, a different pilot flew the balloon. and it was all part of a fundraising effort to build a school for a village in Africa that needed it. The owners of Ultra Magic Balloons have great ties to the continent of Africa, and it's a wonderful story. As I say, we're proud to present it in the current issue of Ballooning Magazine, and it is. And they do have some copies of Ballooning Magazine for sale over the museum gift shop. They usually have a handful of copies there. But
Great
it's
shot of
great
it on the
because
feed.
a number of all the pilots signed panels of the balloon, and a really great story. Ultra Magic built the balloon, then shipped it and let pilots all around the world fly it for them.
Just dropping in right over the top of our head here, Humpty Dumpty.
Having a great flight.
Yeah.
Not a
yep.
fall.
And they're waving at us. Good morning, Rich.
Rich Lawhorn flying Humpty Dumpty, and then if I'm correct, this would be.
And there's his landing.
Yeah, and that's not going to be a good one.
Well,
it's going to
actually,
be
that's very good for the conditions.
That has a
here.
good high wind landing. I meant I should have said not a very soft one is what I was trying to come out with.
No, not a soft one. Yeah,
that was a pretty solid hit.
You notice he was pulling on that vent line before he hit the ground.
That's right.
So that the heat starts to come out of that.
And that's textbook. You notice how quickly the balloon comes to a stop. I can't tell you how many high wind landings I watched where pilots land the balloon with the vent still closed, and then all that heat just keeps dragging them across the field. And so, yeah, Rich was doing it right. I meant I was trying to say it's not going to be a very soft landing.
Right. But exactly
it was a textbook good high wind landing, absolutely.
So here's what appears to be a Hartzell balloon coming over as well.
Yeah, this is one of their original. This is probably Joe's original balloon. And is Wayne Standifer flying that?
He is.
Okay.
He is. Wayne's Air Toy is what they call it now.
Yeah. Wayne is one of those guys that buys up a bunch of used balloons and flies them. One of my early balloons called Lonesome Dove, he bought from me, and I think he got 1 or 2 flights out of it in Mexico, and then it went dead. But he didn't pay much for the balloon, so we were both okay with that.
Meaning that the fabric wears out.
The fabric
and is
wore
no
out.
longer
it was
airworthy.
it was a used balloon when I bought it, so he was like the third owner of the balloon, and it had been rode hard, as they would say.
Got a great shot of
so,
Richard Sabin in the basket there from Henderson,
I was going
Texas.
to say that's Richard Sabin out of
and we're seeing him in the basket on our feed there. So
and since that was Ray Klein flying that balloon earlier, that had the racer with the sunset and the palm trees on it. This balloon coming over the crowd now with the piano balloon, the musical staff around it, and then the piano keys. Now that balloon is, let me see if I can see with my binoculars. It's the balloon of Mike and Betty Bowens, and I couldn't remember Betty's name the other day, and I apologize. Someone sent me a note to remind me that it was Betty, and they've been friends of mine for gosh knows how long. Up in Park City, Utah, I think is where
Betty's
they fly
Baby
now.
Grand is what they actually call that.
Mike has been Mike Bowens, a longtime contributor to the Ballooning Magazine back in the day, is an instructor pilot who's taught a number of people to fly, and I can't quite see if that's Mike or Betty that might be flying. They're both pilots, but I believe it's Mike probably flying
Mike is
balloon.
the registered pilot.
Okay, yeah, so I was going to say, looking at the basket, I think that's Mike flying. I love that balloon. I just think that's one of the most unique patterns of any balloon that I've ever seen.
There are 2 of them in the basket. It does look to be, that might be Mike. Looks like Mike flying.
Yeah, I would guess that it probably is Mike.
I still want to figure out what tune that plays.
Yeah,
when you roll that around.
I was going to say, yeah. Didn't we wonder if like a player piano, if once you land it and you roll it over, does it play a tune when you're packing it up? Looks like
he's going to just drop right in over the crowd and then over the.
I think he's probably going to land. I was going to say Richard Sabin and Wayne Standifer have both just landed there on the far end of the field, and I bet Mike is thinking the same thing.
Same thing.
Once he gets out of the crowd, hopefully, or into an area where he has.
Actually,
he touched down right there. Probably has launch directors down there, and just landed right at the far end of Balloon Fiesta Park.
I heard the official radio send the launch directors more to the north end shortly a little while ago.
High overhead now is the City of Plano, Texas balloon. That would be Bill Broker, I believe, flying that. The City of Plano hosts its own very fine hot air balloon festival. Next year will be the 40th anniversary for the Plano, the In Touch Credit Union Plano Balloon Festival, which always happens the 3rd weekend of September. Usually the dates are 19, 20, 21, 22, right on that weekend. This year, a very tough year for them. The event got rained out as Dallas-Fort Worth got hit with some torrential rainfall. But we look forward to great things next year for the 40th In Touch Credit Union Plano Balloon Festival. And Billy's going to have to lose a little altitude if he's going to score this morning.
Coming almost directly over the top of us. We won't see it on our camera for a few moments here. Nice yellow one with a multicolored chain link pattern going around the equator, flying the AARP banner. That's Kurt Gottelsky from Littleton, Colorado.
And right next to him, there's a little yellow balloon with orange stripes in it. And I think, let me get those Canon binoculars again and take a quick look. Nope. Okay, so I thought those were. It's not the balloon I thought it was. My apologies.
Well, let's see if I can figure it out.
It's flying an American and a New Mexico. No, is that that's the Arizona state flag, I believe. That is flying on the side. A blue skirt, yellow with. It's at one of the Aerostar rallies. It has those orange split gores in the side. But I can't see a banner number to give you any help finding who that might be.
And as we talked yesterday, yellow being probably the most popular color in balloons. Orange not far behind.
Well, you rarely see orange as a primary color in balloons, though.
Scott Alsop from Phoenix, the name of the balloon, Phoenix Sun, so guess where he's from?
Arizona.
Phoenix.
I was right. That is an Arizona flag flying on it. And Billy Broker did lose a lot of altitude. He's down over the park now.
With the Plano balloon?
The Plano balloon, but not sure. Let's see if the binoculars will help me see where he is in relation to the target. I think he's south of both or north of both targets by now. Probably looking at
he's just
a
dropping
landing.
into our picture on the feed.
Yeah, I think he's just dropping in for a landing, actually. Yeah, he's beyond the flagging already.
Is he?
Well, no, he's not. I thought he was. But he's near the end of the
there's
field.
There's kind of two areas out there. There's the target area that goes so far, and then there's another area that's within the flagging. So you're beyond the target, but within the flagging.
Within the flagging, yeah. He was great. And there were several launch directors right there to help snag the balloon as he touched down.
Yeah. So here comes Phoenix Sun dropping in there as well. Scott Alsop, as we mentioned a moment ago.
I always liked this balloon that I can see now. If you look high over the Sandias, and boy, if you don't think there's some wind at altitude, take a look at those lenticular clouds that have formed right over the top of the Sandias. Those clouds that look like waves in the ocean, that is an indication that there is some strong, strong wind up there. And that's what altitude at the peak is, just over 10,000 feet.
Just over 10, yep.
Yep, and but there is some strong wind up there because what it does is it takes, you see the clumpy, lumpy clouds to the further to the north. If you look beyond the Sandias, are we seeing it on the feed?
Yep,
I can't see my monitor in the sunlight now.
Here, let me turn this a little. Maybe you can see that.
Yeah, okay. And if you look far to the left, you see the kind of lumpy, typical cumulus clouds. But boy, if you look further to the right, then there's just that long stream, smooth. Looks almost like when you take a long exposure of a flowing stream, how the water becomes very angel hair looking. Well, that's the same thing you have in those clouds. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a sign. They're called lenticular clouds, and that is strong, very fast wind that creates that effect up there. So there's a lot of speed up high.
And we've seen some of that try to mix down here. It hasn't come down. Heavy, strong winds have not come down here
yet.
And
it's slowed down now, but there for a few minutes, there was a pretty good bit of speed as the pilots were coming down and crossing the field here. I see now those that do drop down aren't moving quite as rapidly as the others were earlier.
Well, even Jeff, the yellow balloon with the orange spikes kind of in the center of it, he's able to kind of slowly deflate the balloon, where when we watched Humpty Dumpty come in, it was like over and out.
He hit and was down. Where I was going with all of this is the balloon that was passing in front of the mountain at the time is down to the north end of the park now, blue and white with a black and silver spiral in it. That is, to my knowledge, was the first and only left-handed spiral balloon. See how the pattern spirals up and around from right to left? And then if you look directly behind it a little higher, the rainbow striped balloon with the black and white checkered spiral. See how the black and white spirals left to right going around the balloon. So the balloon to the north end there is I think it's the only left-handed spiral balloon ever built. I've never seen another one.
So flipping back and forth there, the blue and white one with the black spiral, the left-handed spiral as you described, phobic. That's Robert Fear from Rio Rancho, right, suburb of Albuquerque right here.
Okay. And that looks like it used to, I was going to say that almost looks like Steve Lombardi's, the one with the rainbow colors and the black and white spiral. Can you check that real quick? I was thinking that reminded me of Steve Lombardi's balloon.
Let's see what we got here. That's them right there. It's now called Happy Hour. Chris Cliver.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's Bubba Cliver.
Yeah.
No wonder. Well, Bubba's another Texas pilot, one
Right.
that I know well. So I knew the balloon. I was thinking.
You knew it from somewhere.
Yeah, I knew it from somewhere. I was thinking it was Steve Lombardi. I was thinking of the Steve flew the RNS Kawasaki power sports balloon for a number of years here.
Yes.
And I was thinking that was the balloon, but I probably know it because it's Bubba's balloon.
So there you see the competitor just going out of the top of the picture there with the single. That's the, I think that was Bubba there, and now one of the other balloons there, the regular shapes with a couple of folks in there. So different basket configurations. That almost even looks like a, that's one of those 3-corner baskets we're seeing on the feed.
Okay, then that would be a Balloon Works basket. And
unless it's really, really old, and it would be a Barnes.
Well, it would be a Barnes if it was really, yeah. And, Art, I'm just looking around behind us using our wonderful new swivel chairs, and I don't see another balloon in the sky. We had talked about we were not going to need 9:45 for a closing target time this morning because we just don't think balloons will be in the air that long. And sure enough, maybe our stage manager, Kathy Leindecker, can get around and take a look around behind us better, but I don't see anybody immediately coming in behind us as far as I can see around to the south in either direction. There are 2 more back there? Okay. Thank you, Kathy. That's why you have a competent stage director.
There you go. We have a great team on Balloon Fiesta Live here, from all of our camera operators and our production assistants to the guys that have put all the technical pieces together here to provide us with the monitors and audio, all those types of things, to the folks that are working on the creative side of the team, if you will.
Yeah.
Ruth and Kim down there on the field.
Ruth and Kim have both been very complimentary of their PAs that are with them, helping them to not only operate the cameras and set shots down there, but to grab folks for interviews. It's really a privilege to work with the Balloon Fiesta Live team. This is so much different than the years when, for years, it was just myself and Tom Rutherford up here with a couple of microphones talking to the crowd on the field over the PA system. So yeah, it's
well, after
hats off to the production team.
47 years, we ought to step up our game, don't you think?
Well, I think so.
It's time to kind of get our act together.
So are these the 2 that you were seeing, Kathy? Okay, the one that's dropping down low now, the racer, that's royal blue with the red and white stripe in the center. And then we have
Off Your Rocker.
Off Your Rocker, way high. Probably better to get a good look at it when it's down lower, but some real interesting and unique artwork around that balloon.
Looney Lemon on the bottom of that balloon.
Looney Lemon?
And kind of a face. I'm just kind of looking at the picture in our spotter app here. Yeah. It's kind of like these little white marshmallows. I'm not exactly sure what this is.
I don't either. I'm old school. I keep looking at just the balloons themselves. I forget about all the pictures on the iPads and looking at the monitor, et cetera. It says
it's offyourrocker.com.
Well, and then on the side of the balloon it says Gourmet Rocky Road. And
I think it's a
pistachio strawberry. That sounds like ice cream flavors to me.
Right, and so the side you're not seeing in your binoculars is the yellow side, which I have the picture of, that says the Looney Lemon. So different, obviously, colors, flavors.
Okay. And those are marshmallows, I think, because on this side I'm looking at talking about Rocky Road, and it's kind of chocolate brown with what clearly would be marshmallows puffed out of it. And on the screen, of course, already some of the scoring is going on. You see the scoring, members of the scoring team are beginning to measure those the locations where the markers dropped. And the way the scoring goes in a very general sense is dead center on the target. A 0-0 drop is usually worth 1,000 points.
Yes.
And then for each inch away, if you're 1 inch out, you would score 999 points, 998, 997, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a very simplified view of kind of the way it works. But the best possible score is clearly a dead center bullseye drop. And speaking of bullseyes, Ruth Ludwig Lind, I almost got the wrong name out again, Ruth, is down on the field with one of another guest, so let's go down there.
That's okay, Glenn. I've only been married 21 years, so I understand. I'm with Todd Fisher this morning. Todd, at one time, was the meteorologist for the U.S. National Hot Air Balloon Championships. He just won the BFA, well, not won, he earned the BFA's Ed Yost Master Pilot Award at the annual meeting yesterday.
Well, I want to correct you on that one. It was a director's award that I got yesterday at the BFA session, but I have also earned or been awarded from the FAA the Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award for 50 years of piloting.
Well, thank you for that correction. You are absolutely one of the institutions in our sport who we look to for a lot of wonderful technical information about the weather. Can you explain to our viewers how it is that these pilots are able to steer and change direction so easily today?
Well, it's a very interesting thing because on the ground we don't see evidence. As casual people, we don't see why that happens. But typically, particularly in the mornings, when the ground has cooled and the air close to the ground has cooled, it becomes somewhat stagnant but still is influenced by general wind patterns. And particularly with an area like this with the mountains, in general the air that's really close to the ground, and I'm talking 100 feet or so, turns very sharply to the left. We did not see that this morning, primarily I believe because there's so much else going on with the weather systems. But very typically, close to the ground, we get a very sharp, sometimes 90 degrees left turn on the ground. And then aloft, we may see a 90-degree turn, or maybe even more than that, back to the right. So the pilots learn to put their balloon in an altitude, and they're holding this within a foot or two, quite frankly, to keep the balloon steered or pointed in the direction that they want it to go. Vertically is the only control we have in balloons. We really don't have a directional control.
Thank you. And what is the phenomenon that happens that causes that steering to go away as the morning progresses?
About this time, and you can feel the sun on your face and tell that things are starting to get warm and the ground will start to warm. And so the air starts to rise just like it does in the hot air balloon, but the air itself gets warm and starts to rise off the ground, and as it does, some of the air aloft comes down to replace it. This makes somewhat of a circular rotation. It's mixing, as we call it, and that erases that steerage. So it's the pilots that get out right at dawn, get launched, and get in here early that have the best chance for steerage. Tomorrow we'll probably see a lot more steerage than we saw this morning.
There's so much to the balloon competition, and we really appreciate people like you who understand it to help explain it to everyone else. Thank you so much, Todd. Glenn, back to you.
Thanks, Ruth, and congratulations again, Todd, on your Director's Award. Well deserved, largely for his contributions in meteorology to the U.S. National Championships, as he was just so eloquently describing there. And just wanted to say very quickly, looking at some of the comments on our feed, that two-time U.S. National Champion Pat Cannon said good morning, that he's watching the feed and enjoying it this morning.
Oh,
and
great. Hi, Pat.
Planning to return here next year. He's flown at Balloon Fiesta a number of years, and so even the top-notch pilots in the world are tuning in and paying attention this week. So, Pat, good to hear from you and your lovely wife. And
Kim Besley is managed to snag one out there
while
we
continue
the field
now.
Across the field as we continue to check in on the scoring video here. But Kim Besley, take it away.
Hi, fellas. How's it going? We've been having a great time out here watching balloons go screaming past, seen some very impressive passes on the target from out here. And we're at midfield, right where the targets are, actually. And got a couple here from Pennsylvania. We've been sitting here conversing all morning. And would you introduce yourselves?
Melvin Query.
And I'm Susan Query.
And you're here with a whole group of people, right?
We're here with other couples, yes.
And where from in Pennsylvania?
Place called Blairsville, Pennsylvania. It's about 45 miles east of Pittsburgh.
And is it your first Fiesta?
It is.
What do you think?
Oh, it's great. It's absolutely incredible.
And how long have you been here? Have you been here all the way through, or?
We came in on Friday, and we're going to be here on site until tomorrow, but then we're going to be in the area, and we're going to make sure we're coming back.
Well, that's great. What is your favorite thing about Fiesta so far?
Oh, I really like when they light the balloons up in the morning when it's still dark. That's just beautiful.
and to be able yesterday morning to be around all the balloons when they set them up. Unfortunately couldn't fly, but it was just very interesting to see them.
What do you think about the competition? Because we've been sitting here watching that pretty much all morning.
That has been very interesting, very, very interesting.
And they're really skilled pilots that are dropping those things right on the targets.
You all are living on site, actually, in one of our RV parks. What has that been like? Because that's an experience, I think a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, if I was ever going to come here again, which we hope to be here, I would definitely stay on site here because it's so convenient, and it's been enjoyable because we've met a lot of people from all over the country.
And we also have 2 of the actual balloon pilots that are camped in the same row as us. So we've really been learning a lot about balloons at the same time as we're camping.
Well, that's part of the experience of Fiesta, too, is getting the opportunity to learn about balloons, and we love teaching people about our sport. So you planning to come back next year?
Yes, I believe we are.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, we look forward to having you back, and thank you for hanging around, spending some time with us this morning. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kim. And it's always interesting to get the perspective of visitors here at Balloon Fiesta to see what it is that, exactly why they come out for this. Is it the spectacle of the balloons? Is it the wonderful food? Is it the great shopping? And speaking of shopping, now as we are coming to pretty much a close to the competition, even though we still have by my Mickey Mouse, about 35 minutes of open target time. There is one more balloon, and that's why I always hesitate to say that's it, because as soon as I do, there's always one last balloon that comes in, and so there is one balloon still not going to make it to the field, it doesn't look like, but crossing up over Tramway Road there and along Jefferson, it looks like. But now as our scoring teams go to work, and we've had some incredible shots. There's a picture in the feed of that last balloon, at least what I think is the last balloon drifting by. And our production team, hats off to them, have had some great video of the scoring team beginning to measure the markers down on the field. And you can see the gathering of, there's a whole herd of zebras down there. The zebras, of course, are our beloved launch directors. We call them zebras. Years ago, you know this story better than I probably, Art. When we held the first World Championship here, Sid Cutter wanted to find a way to distinguish the launch directors from just persons in the crowd, and so he came up with putting them in referee uniforms, black and white stripes.
Sure.
Now, our cadre of launch directors, who are largely Albuquerque and area pilots who give up the opportunity to fly.
Pilots and crew, actually, yes.
Pilots and crew that give up their opportunity to participate in that regard at Balloon Fiesta in order to service and be of service to the other pilots from around the world here. But they now take that black and white striping to a whole new extreme than just the ordinary referee uniform. We saw an example of that yesterday with the gentleman who had the zebra head hat on.
Well, and you were telling the story about being striped by one of those zebras.
I was striped by the zebras one year, yes.
Many times they'll put the white and black face paint on there, and then they come give you a nice hug and press their face up against yours.
And you end up with this little, you don't have lipstick on the collar, but you have a little black and white
you have a little
there.
zebra on the cheek.
Yeah. The year they striped me, I was having some difficulty with an eye disorder I have occasionally. So I was wearing, I had to have one eye patched, and they came up, and my black pirate patch became a zebra, or zebra for those of you watching internationally, stripe. And I've never figured out yet why do we call it zebra, and most of the rest of the world calls it zebra, which is also true of the letter Z. We call it Z here in the United States, and most of the world internationally refers to it as Z. It's one of those, common people separated by a common language thing. I've never figured that out.
Sure, tomato.
Yeah, exactly, potato, and that sort of thing.
All that.
Yeah, zebras and zebras, but at any rate, however you pronounce it. Anyway, there's I can see a large grouping of them right there on the field as we begin now to process through the scoring of the markers this morning. And, of course, this all leads to a cumulative championship prizes that you and I will be handing out next Saturday at the conclusion of Balloon Fiesta. And you were saying earlier, if you're over by the Sid Cutter Pavilion, which Jewel was so kind enough to stop and talk with Ruth about earlier,
yes,
that wonderful bronze sculpture of Sid and his 2 dogs, the champion of Balloon Fiesta for the last several years now receives a miniature
of that statue,
which is a brilliant
in addition to the
trophy.
cash prizes
in addition to
and the other trophies. That's just one more piece.
I would fly out here and compete just for a chance to win that trophy. I don't, that in itself. It's kind of like I'm reminded I'm a big NASCAR racing fan, as I know Ruth is, and I'm reminded of all the different ballooning races that have really unique and treasured trophies. There's grandfather clocks, there's guitars, there's all sorts of things. And so it's really nice to see that Albuquerque now, the Balloon Fiesta, has what is becoming a really unique and treasured trophy, a symbol of being the champion of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta in that Sid Cutter statue.
And that statue and trophy, obviously, so typical of the way Sid was always in a basket.
Absolutely.
Sitting on the side, kind of leaning there, and I've seen his dogs in the basket with him a few times.
Yep, yeah.
So that it really the whole depiction of Sid in the basket is just right on.
It really is. It's spot on. And I think the first year I was out here when the statue was first revealed, one of the first things I did was go over and get my picture taken with it, because Sid and Jewel have been great friends for years.
Yes.
And I would venture to say probably every balloonist that visits Albuquerque takes a moment to go over and have their photo taken with the statue of Sid.
We actually, last year there was a great photo taken of the statue with a rainbow coming off the top of the basket.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah. There was the year that my niece Courtney was out here with me, there was that one afternoon there was a great double rainbow over the Sandias too. And see, just as I would have said that was the last balloon, that one I thought was the last balloon is now way out over the Pueblo, and now here's another balloon coming in just over Main Street now. So I'm always hesitant to say that's the last one, because especially on a day like today when we can't see balloons
past
that are
the roof
coming
on some of those
behind us. So, but we are certainly nearing the end. They certainly aren't coming by as fast and furious as they were.
This is Tom Keller, the name of the balloon skydiver, flying the KRQE Casa Fox banner for us, one of the local TV stations.
Yeah, and speaking of skydivers, we don't have evening events today, tomorrow, or Wednesday, but on Thursday when we kick off the Special Shapes days with our rodeos and glowdeos, again Thursday afternoon, prior to the glowdeo, Team Fast Tracks will be scheduled to come back in, and they're jumping twice in the evenings, once prior to the glow, and then once afterwards in a nighttime jump. So great to have Team Fast Tracks. I keep wanting to call them Team Sky Tracks. I don't know why. Team Fast Tracks with us. One of many new elements to this year's Balloon Fiesta.
And I was talking with their ground controller, their ground handler, who actually, I found out, is the guy that's really calling the show.
Oh, yeah?
So you'd think maybe it would be the pilot or maybe it'd be the jumpers themselves, but the guy on the ground is the one who makes the final go, no-go decision, which makes sense when you think about it. He's right here on the ground where they have to land. What are the wind conditions? What are the people conditions? I mean, they jump into stadiums and all kinds of other things. He's the one that finally, in cooperation with them,
certainly,
but gives them the final go, no-go. I believe that he'll be up here to talk to us Thursday morning, so that we will be able to talk with Sam Deeds. He's their ground controller on this particular event.
Oh, great.
And so we've got he should be out here Thursday morning and can tell us more about what that is. We're also trying to get the entire skydive team from Team Fast Tracks scheduled in the Balloon Discovery Center for Thursday morning as well. So you'll be able to hear them here on the feed, and if you're on the field, you'll be able to meet and greet them,
talk with them in
the Balloon Discovery Center. And, you know, we had live helmet camera video of
that
jump.
Yeah.
So it turns out that all of the jumpers jump with a helmet cam.
Well, I wondered about that because they do some skydiving where I'm from in Louisiana, and a lot of times the jumpers do wear helmet cams, and because they video their jumps.
And so all of them on this team, so I managed to get last night the feed from all of those different cameras. So we'll be able to show you what it looks like in the plane before they jump, the jump, each of their landings. We'll have all that edited together. We'll air it for you on Thursday morning when Sam from Team Fast Strikes come over and talks about us.
That is why you're the executive producer of Balloon Fiesta Live.
Thanks.
So.
We're also efforting, and we have to talk with what the playback capabilities might be in the Balloon Discovery Center, but we're going to see about getting that video up there for them as well.
Outstanding.
So.
Well, we are coming to a close of this morning's flying events, and there is no evening event today, so some of us will get some much-needed rest. But one of the things that I'll be doing as soon as we are signed off is heading over to Main Street, and I would encourage our crowd this morning, those that are on field, to consider doing that today. The reason being is that we're still early enough in the week that, for example, our official outerwear vendors will still have have a great selection of colors, designs, and sizes in products. There will still be good supply of pins and programs, and then all of the other vendors will still have a lot of inventory that they begin to sell out of as the week goes on. And now that we're beyond the first weekend of Mass Ascensions, the crowd is appreciable, but still certainly much, much smaller today on weekdays because a lot of the locals can't come out. Well, today's a holiday, though, isn't it?
It's a federal holiday. It's a federal holiday, so there's
But either way, the weekdays crowds are always smaller.
Definitely.
So if you're here and want to do some shopping, and I encourage you to do that, the weekdays are really the days to do that because you don't have to be in queues that are 25 people deep waiting to get serviced by someone in the various booths. And there are always some amazing products to be found out there. I want to go by and say hello to my friend.
Always something new and different.
There is, and then there's always some favorites. And one of mine is I mentioned earlier this week is Arizona Tube Art, there's a great story behind that. A construction worker who, when the business went south, found a whole new artistic routine to get into, creating wonderful night lights is what I call them, candle holders you might want to refer to them as, that glow in the dark. They're just simply stunning. And he's back with us this year. If you're a fan of Pandora jewelry, they are on site. I dropped $300 with them last year or year before buying gifts for all the ladies.
So that'll be $500 or $600 this year, right?
No, it won't. This year, I've already done my Christmas shopping over in Scotland for family, but that year I have 6 wonderful ladies in my family, and they all have Pandora bracelets, so I got them all Pandora Balloon Fiesta Pandora charms that year, the limited edition charm. But there's all kind. There's great ballooning. You know, our friends from Plano Pin Company's there, of course. Diane Carlson, the pin supplier to Fiesta, with her pin booth. Doug and Patty Grimes with exclusive ballooning are there with anything that has a balloon theme to it. They've got it. Phil Whittington is here, another guy that is a vendor of ballooning stuff, and he has Andrew Holly's Fly All 50 States of DVDs and book on special pricing available there. So, yeah, there's just tons and tons and tons of things. And there's a lot of things, as you said, each year that are new, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to go over there after flying today and before I leave Balloon Fiesta Park to make a run down Main Street and see what kind of things I can spend money on.
And you alluded to some of the official merchandise in the sportswear types of things.
Yeah.
I would certainly encourage folks to pick up a 2019 calendar and, of course, the 2018 program. The program is always fabulous, but it seems like it's especially fabulous this year. There's a great article.
You're not just saying that because there's an article about us in there, are you?
Well, I wasn't going to. It just seems, actually there's the volunteers or our navigators have jackets. Our zebras, as you've talked about, our scoring officials, our safety officials. There is actually a color scheme to what group has what jackets. So there's the key. So you see somebody in a red jacket, they're on this team. You see somebody in a blue jacket, they're on that team.
Okay.
And so that is all explained in an article in the program this year.
I've been here, as we said, 29 years, and I never knew that. So I would be interested.
There's always been a scheme.
Okay.
And so the scheme is, and it's actually, I think the scheme is kind of becoming more solid, that you're going to see the scheme hang through in years to come.
Well, I'll be curious to read that then.
To
because
check that out.
We have kind of a, what would you call this, a teal green?
It's kind of a teal. It's
and I've seen some of our production team, as a matter of fact, and I see folks down on the gates to sponsor hospitality have more of a lightish blue colored jacket. Of course, law enforcement has safety yellow.
Right.
And as you said,
our safety officials are in red.
Our safety officials are in red, and I know the board of directors have their own color, I think.
They have a nice blue. Staff and board of directors are in a nice blue. There's a number of them right down here.
Yep. So
fact,
I
there's
didn't realize,
Barbara. Good morning, Barbara.
I didn't realize there was a
there
key,
is there actually
key.
is a key in a whole article explaining. So it's a way the program. You can't tell the players without the program.
Right.
There's an article all about it.
Okay. Well, and speaking of people with colored jackets, the ones that you cannot mistake and don't need a color key to know about are the folks that are in black and white, and those are our launch directors, our zebras, and Kim Vesley is standing by with one of our launch directors right now. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I have a celebrity launch director here.
Hi, Karen.
So we've got Karen, who's Ken says hi.
Hi, Ken.
Ken Art. So anyway, we have a celebrity launch director with us who is not only a launch director, but it's also president of the Albuquerque Aerostat Ascension Association, which is the world's largest local balloon club. This is Karen Wells. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
And you're a launch director. How long have you been a launch director?
This is my 4th official year as a launch director here, and I absolutely love being out on the field with the pilots and crew.
And what do you like most about it?
I love that I'm able to one-on-one connect with those pilots, get to know them, build relationships, and throw in a joke every now and then.
Well, her husband flies, and I guess you had some fun watching him fly over the target this morning.
We have a brand new shiny balloon, and I'm proud to say that he did make it to the target this morning. And so there were a lot of spectators cheering him on and cheering on all of the balloons as they came over the target and threw their baggies this morning.
Yeah, that was so much fun to just sit here and watch those guys fly past, guys and gals.
Right, we have a lot of female pilots out here this year. Both of them, both male and female, made it here to the target today. Go, everybody. And lots of spectators cheering them on. We were doing the wave. We had them out here cheering, chanting pilots' names. You can be actively involved. Come out here, come talk to the zebras, come talk to the pilots, and be a part of that.
Let's talk a little bit about the Quad A and what the Quad A is. You're the president of Quad A now.
Quad A is the biggest balloon club in the world. We have about 550 members here, and we focus mainly on education, but other aspects as well. We want to bring those young, new faces into the crowd. We want to get you involved. We have a pilot program. We can get you to get your pilot certificate or your commercial certificate. We do a balloon camp, the Rio Grande Balloon Camp. So if your age is 13 to 18 and want to get to know balloons and be around balloons and even fly the balloons, we'll be able to get you into a basket all week long.
And it's a great group of people to hang around with, right?
Oh, we're a bunch of fun. You can come out and you can hang out with the pilots. We do happy hours. We do monthly flying events. You can learn not only how to fly, but you can learn how to compete like these guys we're doing here today and just get to know the group.
And crew is a big part of it too, right?
Crew is a huge part of it. The pilots can't launch these balloons if we don't have the crew. If you want to get involved, we have a crew tent out here. You can get with us as Quad A, and we can get you involved with the pilots so that you can be a part of a crew too.
And how do you go about finding out about Quad A or joining it even?
If you want to become a part of Quad A, we have a table set up in the Sid Cutter building at the south corner of the field, and you can see the people that are at that table, and we can help get you set up.
That's great, Karen. Thank you. I've been a member of Quad A since 1978.
Don't go there, Kim. Hey,
oh gosh!
Ask Karen to tell us the story of the new balloon. We had a great shot of Zarek coming across in the yellow racer with a big black mustache on it. What's the story behind that being guilty?
Okay. Art wants to know what the story behind your new balloon is. He said they had a great shot of Zarek coming across the target. So what's the story? Because I don't think I've heard this.
So I've grown up in the ballooning community, and I have always had a dream to have a balloon, and it was going to be yellow. Yellow's my favorite color. Well, this balloon has a mustache on it. This is the first of a pair. It's what we call a racer balloon. It's a 65 Lindstrand, and it has the big mustache on it, and the name of the balloon is Guilty. And we have a guilty pilot, and we have some guilty crew, and we have a guilty crew chief. That might be me. But we're going to have a pair, and the other one is going to be innocent. I'm working on my pilot's license right now. When my balloon is done, it's going to be yellow with something else that makes it innocent, and I'm going to be the innocent pilot with the innocent crew, and we're going to fly as a pair. So you can pick, do you want to be with the guilty pilot, or do you want to be with the innocent pilot?
I think I'm not going to go there.
Well, hey, Kim, I was just going to say you should tell
It's all in good fun.
you should tell Zarek and Karen that they need to get in cahoots with Chief Justice Judy Nakamura, and then we could have the judge with guilty or innocent on both sides. They should do a little formation fly.
Oh, jeepers. Anyway, we're having a great time out here. There's still plenty to do on the field. Concessions are open, food and souvenirs, and we were just sitting out here watching the scorers measure baggies, all those baggies that got dropped on the targets.
Yeah, we've had some great shots of them working out there. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Good to see you. And by the way, Karen, not only Karen is the president of the Quad A, as we just heard, but her husband, Zarek, is the Cloud Bouncer editor. He is the editor of their newsletter, and he cornered me yesterday at the BFA annual general meeting, since I'm the editor of Ballooning Magazine, and he said, "Okay, what's your secret? You know, where do you find editorial content? How do you fill the magazine every 2 months, et cetera?"
Right.
And so we shared some trade secrets and had a nice little conversation yesterday. They're a great couple, and I can't wait to find out what's going to be on the innocent balloon,
Right.
to make it innocent, and it'll be fun to see them flying side by side.
It will be fun to see that and move forward with that. Zarek, also, we talked about the competition events that Quad A sponsors every month. We have a competition out here for
You're talking
our
about Top
Glows.
Gun?
No,
or is
this is
separate
Quad
from
A.
Top Gun? Okay.
Separate from Top Gun. So there's really two organizations. Top Gun is the highly competitive,
right? The
flying
national worlds.
Yeah,
level guys.
they get rankings for flying for all that other stuff. And then there's just the fun flying competition stuff that the Quad A Club does. And Zarek puts those on and organizes those every month for us. The only month we don't do that, obviously, is in October, because we're a little busy with this one here.
So Karen and Zarek, then very
much
kind of
involved
knee deep in ballooning, or waist deep even.
They are with that.
Hey, one of the exciting things going on here at Balloon Fiesta Park that it really has no relation to hot air, I guess, and I'm not quite sure how it got started, but they've been here a number of years now, and that's the chainsaw carving contest that's going on down in the far north end of the park. You see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think, little tiny pointed tents, and that is the area where the chainsaw carving contest takes place. This is great fun to go and watch, because these are incredibly talented artisans from all over the country that are down there creating wooden sculptures out of chainsaw carving. Sometimes they have contests running, where, as you were saying yesterday, I think they each of the participants is given basically a log, a big clump of wood, and a limited time frame, say like an hour or so, and then the clock starts, and it's do the best that you can, create the most wild and evocative, great sculpture that you can create.
And
you
the
see
stuff is fabulous.
It is amazing what they can do down there.
It is.
You can go down there, and a lot of the things are either auctioned off or in some cases raffled off. A few years ago, I actually went down and was able to talk with one of the carvers and commissioned him outside of Balloon Fiesta to create a special piece for me to celebrate my balloon at the time, Coyote Moon. And it turned out he was also an Albuquerque firefighter. So that was a sideline of his, and I was awfully glad to support his work. And I still have that hanging in my office to this day. He took my balloon team logo and carved it with a chainsaw into a brilliant big piece of wood that hangs. It's a brilliant plaque in my office.
And I think that's kind of the connection of starting here. We had a number of Albuquerque firefighters start doing the chainsaw,
Well,
so
I
we decided
wondered.
to feature them out here, and it's grown from that, let's just feature our local guys, to a national competition that takes place out here now, mostly on the weekends for the competition. During the week, it's more of a demonstration.
Okay.
But they're out there carving both morning and afternoon if we have afternoon events.
And if you go down there, I mean, you'll see just amazing things made out of what had to be huge tree trunks. I mean, there's, I've seen amazing bears and eagles. There are benches that you could put in your garden, and there are also very nice desktop size carvings that you can actually purchase and take home.
My wife bought me one for Christmas a number of years ago.
Yeah, I've got a bear. I've got a collection of chainsaw carved animals and critters and things at home, and I've purchased some from down there as well. But they have there's something in everybody's budget. I mean, some of the bigger pieces are quite expensive because they are quite elegant and detailed and very, very fine production.
Yes.
But you can find something for every budget. And so if you've got that really hard to buy for person in your life, Christmas isn't that far away. I hate to be jumping the gun and somewhere go, oh, gosh, it's
at
only
least
October.
Well, at least it is October. We're not talking about it in July.
Yeah, and so now you might find just that really unique. Well, like I say, I did Christmas shopping for all the ladies in my family at Pandora here one year.
Yep.
So it's not a bad idea to think about some holiday shopping while you're here and check out some unique products and things that might be available along our Main Street vendors.
So check them all out, whether it's the chainsaw carving or whether it's the vendors down here along Main Street. Lots of things things to do here on the field. And for those of you watching us on the stream, we know you can't get here at the moment probably to see the chainsaw carving.
But they can go shopping.
You can go shopping. Yes, there is a merchandise tab on balloonfiesta.com, and you can pick up just about all of the official merchandise directly online. And as we've talked about these other companies that are here, many of them are online as well, so you can continue to do that. The one final thing I wanted to say about the chainsaw carvers there, you talked about a lot of animals and things like that.
Right.
During Balloon Fiesta, you'll find a lot of balloons
of course.
incorporated into those designs too. And because every one of those is unique, that's what really makes those special.
Yeah, absolutely. I said animals because I was thinking of the menagerie I have at home. I've got a koala bear, I've got a seagull from Jamaica, and I've got a pelican from the state of Louisiana where I live now, and I've got a little bear that I got when I was out in California. So that's why I brought animals came to mind. But you're right, there are some brilliant balloon sculptures down there that are really quite nice.
And then the combination of the two.
Exactly.
Yes, bears holding up balloons.
Holding up balloons, yeah.
All those great things up there. So
yeah, that's a great place to stop in and visit, and something you don't see at just any old everyday ordinary event is something like that, and certainly not at the caliber or quality that you'll find down there. So great place to stop, and something you really should make a must-see to do while you're here at Balloon Fiesta Park.
So I'm seeing a little breakfast picnic going on down there on the field with some of our folks. And as the balloons land and the chase crews pack up the balloons, they'll be headed back here to the field. Many of them will tailgate back here as well. Some will go get a nap, knowing that there is no evening event scheduled tonight. And they'll maybe even do some sightseeing around town as well. Tomorrow we have another competition day scheduled.
Yep.
And the weather is supposed to be even better tomorrow than it was today. It turned out to be a great morning.
It did. And although I think a lot of us probably were a bit on edge about whether or not we were going to be able to pull it off this morning, and it turned out it's been just an absolutely gorgeous morning. And as Brad T. Meyer did tell us early on this morning, the weather is only going to get better for the next few days.
So the balloons that are still flying, as we see those shots out there, there's still some clouds out to the north, but above us it's basically clear blue sky.
Yeah, well, and those lenticular clouds that were so prevalent over the peak of the Sandia
are
pretty well disappearing too.
Yep.
So things are calming down all around. We're seeing now more of the typical fair weather cotton candy cumulus type clouds up there. And so that's a good sign of fair weather settling in, and that can only mean good things for ballooning for the next several days at Balloon Fiesta. And also, if you're down on the south end of the park, a couple of places you should stop in before we sign off today. Quick shout out to the balloon manufacturers. If you want to see the quality equipment that our pilots are flying these days, learn a little bit about the modern technology we use. There are representatives from many of the manufacturers. I know Cameron Balloons, Lindstrand is here, Kubitschek is here, Ultra Magic, perhaps some of the others. I haven't been over there completely just yet. And then, of course, our presenting sponsor, Canon, and we can't forget about them. I've mentioned the wonderful binoculars they provide us each year. I'm the proud owner of a relatively new Canon M50 mirrorless camera. That is a great camera if you like to travel because it's small, it's compact. I bought it with an 18 to 150 millimeter lens, which is a great all-around walk-around lens, both wide-angle and minimal telephoto. Took it to Scotland and the UK, had a great time with it. And at some point this week, I've got to go over there, and I'm going to get them to show me a few of the features on it that I'm not entirely up to speed with. But you can stop in and check out all of the latest camera gear from Canon. They also are providing some of the camera equipment we're using here on the feed for Balloon Fiesta Live. You can stop in there and see their newest models. If you brought your camera with you, you could go by and they'll give you some tips on taking great pictures here at Balloon Fiesta. Maybe if the camera needs a cleaning, they could probably help you with that. Or if, like me, you've got a new DSLR and you maybe aren't quite familiar with all the fancy features on it, you can go over and say, hey, guys, what does this button do?
Right.
Help me out here. And so you can go by and see the great folks. And hopefully we're going to have one of the Canon folks up to speak with us sometime this week.
Well, he actually showed up here this morning, and we were hot and heavy in the middle of the competition. No. So I asked him to come back in a little bit, and he's obviously gotten tied up helping other folks over there.
Okay.
But, yes, Brian Griggs will be up to talk to us at some point
this Brian.
Week.
And I want to try and get over today. As a matter of fact, it would be a good day to say another hello to my friend Gennaro, who was
you betcha.
He stopped up earlier this week, over the weekend, again, when we were very busy, and I just had time to say a quick hello. But he helped me with the purchase of my Canon M50, and so I want to go by and say hello to him again. So the Canon tent, which is right at the south main entrance of the field, can't miss it, is a great place to stop by as well.
So the target is open for another 8 minutes. There are no balloons in the area here. They will continue to leave it open for those 8 minutes.
And that's why you don't see a lot of pilots back tailgating yet on the field because the field is still off limits. Yeah.
Right. So at 9:45, there'll be a little smoke bomb set off in the center of the field, so don't be alarmed by that. But that will happen, and we will be back tomorrow morning at 6:45.
Yeah, I barely got here at 6:45 this morning. I slept in a bit.
Yeah, let you go home early last night. You stay home, actually. And
I was up watching the Cowboys and was so disappointed in how that turned out. But, congratulations to the Texans. And then yesterday, one of the big things in my personal world was yesterday was the world premiere of the brand new Doctor Who, the fans of Doctor Who. And I missed it because it happened at like 1:45 p.m. when I was just getting out of the BFA meeting, but I was able to stream it last night. So I went to bed and was watching Doctor Who on my iPhone, and so I stayed up a little later than I should have and slept in a bit later than I should have this morning, but got here just in time to be on the air today.
Well, that was great. So let's call this a day. Let's wrap this up.
Okay, let's do it.
And so on behalf of Kim Vesley and Ruth Lynn down there on the field, Glen Moyer and Art Lloyd Jr. up here on the tower, and our entire production team for Balloon Fiesta Live. Thanks for tuning in and joining us here. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
This has been live coverage of the 2018 Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta presented by Canon. Always in October and always in Albuquerque, the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is the world's premier ballooning event. This program is a production of AIBF Inc., all rights reserved. Thanks for watching Balloon Fiesta Live.